Chapter 787, Hearts Are Bleeding. Chapter 787, Hearts Are Bleeding. After the experts on the scene all heard Xian Yi out and caught the view of his indignant face, they came to understand his first requirement. Indeed, if Xian Yi was telling the truth, the fee for his 3 disciples using the wormhole was already as high as 600 million divine gems. Then, it would seem quite reasonable that Xian Yi intended to seek compensation of 1 billion divine gems from the 3 magnates. Jian Wushuang cast an odd look at Xian Yi and then wheeled around to look at his senior brother, Bai Hu. Gingerly, he asked, "Third senior brother, did you 3 really come here through wormholes?" "Of course." Bai Hu nodded gravely. "If it hadn't been for the wormholes in the Void Temple, how could I have bustled here from the remote ice-water territory after receiving Master's call?" "So is the fee for using wormholes really that expensive?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Yes." Bai Hu nodded again. "The Void Temple is the real overlord of the eternal world. It owns all the wormholes leading to every corner of the eternal world. Using wormholes is indeed pricey. Each use will cost you 100 million divine gems, just like Master said. However, there is one thing Master didn't mention." "What's it?" Jian Wushuang glanced at him hastily. He laughed mischievously. "Our first senior brother is one of the 18 masters of the Void Temple. He has quite an influence in the Void Temple. So he not only paid nothing for using a wormhole of the Void Temple, but also gave each of us 1 token. With this token, each person is allowed to use wormholes at 1/10 of the normal price. That's to say, each time second senior brother and I use a wormhole, it only costs 10 million divine gems per person. For a round trip, it amounts to 40 million divine gems for both of us. That's much lower than the 600 million that Master just told them," Bai Hu said, beaming. "So this is the truth." Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. In spite of himself, he looked at his first senior brother Shueling Tian, one of the 18 masters of the Void Temple. For the moment, Jian Wushuang was not clear about the power of the Void Temple, nor did he have any concrete idea about the influence of the 18 masters in the Void Temple. But Jian Wushuang could tell that his first senior brother was definitely an awesome figure, an absolute top expert in the eternal world. "Junior brother, when we get back to the ancient sect, you can go to your first senior brother and ask him to give you a token. With the wormholes of the Void Temple, it'll be much more convenient for you to travel around the eternal world. Otherwise, if each use of a wormhole costs 100 million divine gems, even an extremely powerful Dao Master cannot afford it," Bai Hu suggested. "I see." Jian Wushuang nodded gently. From Bai Hu's account, he knew the token must be highly useful. If he could, he wanted to ask Shueling Tian for such a token. On the other side of the void, Tian Yunzi, Emperor Tu, and Demon Master Su all pulled a long face at Xian Yi's words. Nevertheless, in light of the astonishing strength that Shueling Tian had just demonstrated, the 3 could only choke down their anger. "Fine, we'll give you 1 billion divine gems. It's a deal." Tian Yunzi nodded forcefully, his face a little abashed. "Well, great, no problem about the first requirement. Now, I'll tell you my second request." Xian Yi smiled blandly and went on, "As you know, I'm a highly skilled expert in many fields, such as making puppets, refining weapons, and concocting elixirs. Recently, I've been wanting to refine a magic weapon, and really need a kind of gem called orichalcum. And I need quite a lot. You 3, please try to get some for me, will you?" "Orichalcum?" Tian Yunzi and the other 2 were astonished. They all had heard of orichalcum. It was an extremely rare and precious ore. The reason for its rarity was that this kind of or allegedly came from other planets in the universe and could only be found there. The eternal world had no naturally formed orichalcum. Considering its rarity, its value was naturally exorbitant. In the market of the eternal world, a nail-sized piece of orichalcum would be worth millions of divine gems. Although the three magnates all stored some of this, or the quantity was miserably small. Xian Yi, how much orichalcum are you talking about? Tian, Yunzi asked with a snort. Not much. I need 5 kilograms. So, each of you will only hand in a little more than 3 kilograms. Xian Yi smiled. Tian, Yunzi, Emperor Tu, and Demon Master Su gave another shudder. A pile of 5 kilograms of the orichalcum would be as large as a baby's fist. Its value would be no less than 100 million divine gems. And above all, this kind of treasure was not something money could buy. Without special channels to the outside, it was impossible to get one's hands on it. Okay, we accept. Tian Yunzi and the other two nodded after a short discussion. But as they made this promise, their hearts all bled with despair. Good, excellent. Such being the case, I have one last requirement left. Xian Yi spoke again. The last thing I'm asking for is not that hard for you to get. I just want some secret skills. Secret skills? Tian Yunzi and the other two looked stunned. The experts around also started murmuring. First he asks for divine gems, and then the natural treasures, and now the secret skills of the three magnates. Wow, this palace master Xian Yi is really relentless. Humph, Palace Master Xian Yi is not the one to blame. The three magnates asked for this. Well, that's true. Since the three magnates sent out so many experts together to take on Jian Wushuang, a divine realm expert, it's no wonder Palace Master Xian Yi got so furious. This time, the three magnates will really suffer a lot. Surrounded by all the murmuring, Tian Yunzi clenched his teeth and said, "Just say it, which secret skills do you want?" "Not many, only 10 secret skills from each of you. I have listed the details of these secret skills. Here is the list. You can take it and have a look." Xian Yi immediately threw a list over. The three caught the list and looked through it. Their expressions changed several times as they read it. Each of the secret skills that Xian Yi listed was rather precious and unique. They were all devised by their predecessors after pouring in a lot of time and a great effort. Each of them was highly meaningful to their sections. But now, Xian Yi required them to give him 30 secret skills in total. How could they not be shocked and devastated? But no matter how devastated they were, they had to stay rational. After a moment of contemplation, Tian Yunzi nodded forcefully. He stared at Xian Yi, gritted his teeth, and said, "In 3 days, we'll send the divine gems, the orichalcum, and all the secret skills you asked for to your ancient sect." "Great. If you keep your promise, I will pretend that this whole thing never happened, and we can still be friends. But if you fail to send those things to me promptly, I will have to send my disciples to you for a visit," Xian Yi said with a smile. Emperor Tu and Demon Master Su looked completely sullen. Tian Yunzi was also screaming hysterically in this mind. "Friend? What kind fucking friend are you?" "Ha, so it's settled. My disciples, let's go back." Chapter 788. It's settled. Chapter 788. It's settled. As Xian Yi led his 4 favorite disciples off swaggering under the watch of all the experts, today's incident was finally settled. The experts and disciples all gloated at the 3 magnates. Today, it could be said that the 3 magnates went for wool and came home shorn. They originally wanted to take on Jian Wushuang and force him to tell them the secrets about the Eternal Zone. However, they did not achieve this. What was more, They suffered a great loss. They not only lost many Eternal Realm experts in the fight against Jian Wushuang, but also had to pay a huge price to appease Xian Yi's wrath. They had to pay 100 million divine gems, 5 kilograms of orichalcum, and loads of precious secret skills. This compensation really cost the 3 magnates an arm and a leg. Today's battle actually turned the 3 magnates into Jian Wushuang and Xian Yi's stepping stones. After this battle, the entire Firmament territory would soon know the ancient sect had raised a peerless genius, an unprecedented divine realm expert who could outshine all the experts of the 3 magnates, and his name was Jian Wushuang. Meanwhile, with the reappearance of his 3 Dao master disciples, the fame and influence of the most mysterious Xian Yi in the Firmament territory would certainly be taken a notch up. But of course, fame and influence were never the things that Jian Wushuang and Xian Yi pursued. They did not care what the experts of various sects in the Firmament territory were saying. On the top of the Enlightenment Mountain in the ancient sect, Jian Wushuang and his 3 senior brothers were sitting by a table loaded with wine and assorted dishes. Senior brothers, if you hadn't come in time today, I'm afraid I would not be sitting here alive. Now, I'd like to propose a toast to the 3 of you, Jian Wushuang said sincerely, raising his wine cup. His 3 senior brothers all accepted his gratitude and drained their cups. Then, Baihu, who was evidently the most outspoken one out of the 3, gave a hearty smile and said, "Junior brother, even if we did not get to you in time today, you wouldn't be in any danger at all." "Yeah." Shui Lingtian and Purple Mountain also nodded in agreement. Really? Jian Wushuang could not help but feel bemused. If his 3 senior brothers had not arrived in time, could he really have gotten out of trouble unscathed? "Junior brother, don't forget that you still have our master on your side," Baihu said with a grin. "Master?" Jian Wushuang looked taken aback. This was not because he did not have much confidence in his master. On the contrary, he had great faith in his master Xian Yi. If not, he would not have struck out without hesitation because of Xian Yi's few words and made such a scene today. But deep down, Jian Wushuang was still a bit puzzled. After all, his master Xian Yi was only an Eternal Realm expert. How could that be? "Junior brother, don't belittle our master." Shui Lingtian looked at Jian Wushuang and said solemnly, "It's true that our master hasn't reached the level of Dao master, but this does not mean he is inferior to those Dao masters. In fact, it is the opposite. I've traveled around for years and met many Dao masters. I even came into contact with some very powerful and influential figures in the eternal world. But I can say, among all the experts I met over those years, that in terms of unfathomable strength, our master definitely ranks first." "Oh." Jian Wushuang felt surprised. Shui Lingtian was one of the 18 masters of the Void Temple. He was widely known in the eternal world. His power and influence were also exceptional. A big shot like him certainly had dealings with many extraordinary experts. Among all those experts, how could Palace Master Xian Yi rank first? "Junior brother, you're one of the members of the Sword Palace in the ancient sect, aren't you?" Shui Lingtian suddenly asked. "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded. "You know, many years ago when I was recruited, the ancient sect had no sword palace at all. The only palace they had was the Saber Palace, and our master was the palace master there at that time," Shui Lingtian said. "What?" Jian Wushuang was stunned. Before the Sword Palace was established, there was a Saber Palace, and Xian Yi was the palace master of this Saber Palace. Not only did the first senior brother experience this, but also the 2 of us. When I joined in the ancient sect, there was no Sword Palace or Saber Palace. All they had was the Spear Palace, and our master was the palace master of the Spear Palace Purple Mountain said, "Haha, I use an axe as my weapon. This is because when I was taken in, our master was the palace master of the Axe Palace in the ancient sect, by who said candidly." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was completely dumbstruck. He had noticed long ago that his senior brothers all used different weapons. His first senior brother Xue Lingtian wielded a saber, his second senior brother Purple Mountain employed a long spear, and his third senior brother Bai Hu relied on a giant axe. But at that time, he did not think about it too much. After all, no one said that his master Xian Yi would only take in experts who were good at the sword principle. However, at this moment, Jian Wushuang finally realized that his master was not only an ace at the sword principle. Given that he had taught the three Dao masters, Xue Lingtian, Purple Mountain, and Bai Hu, he must have had an equally deep understanding of the saber principle, the spear principle, and the axe principle. Considering as well what Xian Yi had said himself, he had also had profound study in many fields, such as refining weapons, making puppets, and concocting elixirs. The shock that Jian Wushuang felt became even greater. Xian Yi had studied so many subjects and made profound achievements in all of those subjects. Was he even human? How mysterious! How unfathomable! This was what Jian Wushuang thought about Xian Yi. Long before, he had already found his master very mysterious. But now, he realized that he still vastly underestimated him. Seeing Jian Wushuang's expression alter, Xue Lingtian and the other two were not surprised at all. Anyway, they had been through the same shock that Jian Wushuang was feeling now. "So, junior brother, even if we hadn't come today with our master's capability, you would never have fallen into the hands of the three magnates. I don't know much else, but I'm sure master could easily rescue you and take you away." Xue Lingtian beamed. "Really?" Jian Wushuang nodded. Then he asked, "Senior brothers, you've followed the leadership of our master for so many years, but do you have any inside information about him?" "No, I don't." Bai Hu shook his head, without hesitation. "I don't know much, either." Purple Mountain gave a wry smile. "I'm the one who has been around our master the longest, but I also have no real insight into him at all. Well, judging by his daily behaviors, I can tell that our master is the kind of man who desires nothing. He doesn't pursue anything, but always follows his heart. Taking us in as his personal disciples is also a decision he made in the course of nature," Xue Lingtian said subtly. "And our master cares a lot about us, but he has never asked us to do anything for him. It's been at least more than 100,000 years since I joined our master, and he never once ordered me to do his biddings. Instead, it was me who often sought help from him." Chapter 789, Gifts Presented at the First Meeting. Chapter 789, Gifts Presented at the First Meeting. When Jian Wushuang heard the accounts of his three senior brothers, he found this thing rather funny. Desires nothing, always follows his heart. My master is really a puzzle. In fact, in our ancient sect, our master is not the only one who is mysterious. There is another unfathomable man, and he is our sect master. Xue Lingtian spoke again. The sect master of our ancient sect. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. It was true that the sect master of the ancient sect was very mysterious as well. Jian Wushuang had joined the ancient sect a long time ago, but he had not met the sect master yet. The daily errands of the ancient sect were all delegated to the palace masters of the Dao Palace. Even if the ancient sect encountered danger, as long as the ancient sect was not about to be fully destroyed, the sect master normally would not show his face. Even the many palace masters of the Dao Palace in the ancient sect had not met the sect master in person in 10,000 years, let alone Jian Wushuang. I've followed our master for over 100,000 years, but during this a long period, I only saw the sect master once. And the sect master left me the impression he was really eccentric, Xue Lingtian said, scowling. First senior brother, you at least met him once. Third junior brother, and I have never met him. Purple Mountain gave a bitter smile. At this, Jian Wushuang was also shocked. The sect master of the ancient sect was honored as the top-ranking expert in the firmament territory, but no one had met him other than a handful of people. How could it be? This was really weird. You guys, what are you talking about? A soft voice suddenly fluttered in. Then Palace Master Xian Yi slowly came in wearing a white robe. Jian Wushuang and the others instantly stood up and bowed to Xian Yi. Greetings, dear master. It's okay, don't be a stranger. No need to be so polite with me. Have a seat. Xian Yi said, waving a hand. Jian Wushuang and the others sat down again. Xian Yi also took a seat by the table and helped himself to a cup of wine. What were you guys talking about just now? I heard you chatting merrily. Xian Yi took a sip of wine and asked casually. Nothing. It's just that the first time we get together with our junior brother, we all became a bit more talkative, Baihu said, laughing heartily. Jian Wushuang and the other guys also forced a smile, but they looked rather embarrassed. They could not just say they were discussing how mysterious their master was, right? Yeah, I understand. Since it's the first time you met your junior brother, being his senior brothers, shouldn't you three give him some gifts? Xian Yi said with great interest. Gifts? Jian Wushuang was a little taken aback. But Xue Lingtian and the other two were not surprised. It was perfectly normal to give a junior brother a gift at their first meeting. When Xue Lingtian first met Purple Mountain, and Baihu, he also gave them gifts. This time, they knew they were going to meet Jian Wushuang, so they all prepared something as gifts. Junior brother, when I got the message from our master and learned that I was about to meet you, I put in a lot of thought and selected a gift for you. Well, here it is, Baihu said at once. As these words faded, he took out a colorful fruit with a delicate fragrance. Third senior brother, this is... Jian Wushuang looked at the colorful fruit with bewilderment. This fruit had 7 different colors and even gave out 7 unique fragrances. Jian Wushuang could tell at first glance that it was very precious. This is a 7-colored Dao fruit, a treasure that can facilitate the understandings of the origin Dao. Baihu explained, I know you're just a divine realm expert. If you want to reach the eternal realm, you have to choose one Dao and fully grasp its 9 occults. But now, you're still far from reaching that step, aren't you? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded seriously. To break through the eternal realm, an expert had to gain a thorough comprehension of the 9 occults of one Dao, and this was the most basic thing he must achieve. So far, Jian Wushuang had not reached this step. Although he already made significant progress in World Dao and Slaughter Dao after studying for 100 years in the Eternal Zone, he was still far from fully comprehending the 9 occults. The more he studied, the harder it became. Jian Wushuang had an extraordinary talent. He had, after all, reached the deification realm. But despite his talent, this realm could not give him the same power of understanding as he experienced in the heaven-treading realm. God knew when he could really master the 9 occult of one Dao. He chuckled. Ha! This 7-colored Dao fruit is a treasure that can substantially raise your understanding of the origin Dao. Once you eat it, even if you don't try to comprehend Dao on purpose, as it will gradually grow more powerful, you can certainly grasp the 9 occults of one Dao in 1,000 years. If you work a little bit harder with your talent, you could definitely become an eternal realm expert in less than 300 years. Baihu smiled. At this, Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. He actually had no idea when he could make another breakthrough and reach the eternal realm. According to his own estimation, it would at least take him 1,000 years. But now, with the help of this 7-colored Tao fruit, he could save more than half of that time. This was indeed a precious treasure. Thank you so much, third senior brother, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. You're welcome, Baihu said forthrightly. Third junior brother, since you already took out the 7-colored Tao fruit, if I don't present something more valuable, I will not be qualified to be your second senior brother, Purple Mountain said with a small grin. Of course, you joined the ancient sect before me, and you are stronger than me. You're supposed to present something more precious, Baihu said, his mouth twitching. Luckily, I also have prepared something for you. Junior brother, look, Purple Mountain smiled faintly and waved a hand. A figure over 3 meters tall suddenly materialized next to Purple Mountain. This figure issued no aura at all. It was clearly not a living thing. A puppet fighter. Jian Wushuang and Baihu both turned to look at it. They immediately knew this 3-meter-tall man was a puppet fighter. Junior brother, this puppet fighter is something I obtained by luck when I was adventuring years ago. It is at the level of the eternal realm, and what's more, it's at the peak of the eternal realm. Purple Mountain elaborated. This puppet fighter is driven by divine gems. The power it casts depends on the number of activated divine gems. If it releases its full power, it can confront a human expert at the peak of Step 6 of the Eternal Realm. The peak of Step 6 of the Eternal Realm. Jian Wushuang was taken aback. It was extremely difficult to cross each of the 6 steps of the Eternal Realm. When Jian Wushuang went all out and transformed into an ancient god, he could rival a normal expert at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm. If he really got desperate and resorted to his most powerful trump card, he could even be a threat to an expert at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. However, this puppet was at Step 6 of the Eternal Realm, the top level of the Eternal Realm, and it was at the peak of Step 6. Owning this puppet fighter meant he had a fighter at the peak of Step 6 around him. You could imagine how rare this puppet fighter was. Thank you so much, second senior brother, Jian Wushuang said hastily. This puppet fighter serves no use to a Tao master, but it can save your life at critical moments. Anyway, you'd better be careful with it. Make careful use of it. After all, it needs divine gems to drive this puppet fighter, so the cost can be very high, Purple Mountain suggested. Chapter 790, The Star Map. Chapter 790, The Star Map. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly. But Purple Mountain and Baihu both cast their eyes on Xueling Tian. The two had already presented their gifts, which were both quite precious and useful to Jian Wushuang. Now, it was Xueling Tian's turn to present his gift. Being the first senior brother, Xueling Tian was the first one to join the ancient sect first among the 4, and he was the most powerful as well. Besides, he was also one of the 18 masters of the Void Temple. Thus, his gift must be even more impressive. Junior brother. Xueling Tian spoke slowly. He took out a token and handed it over to Jian Wushuang. This is my exclusive token. With it, whenever you go to the Void Temple to use a wormhole, you'll only need to pay 1/10 of the normal price. And if you come across some danger in the journey, or if some experts try to push you around, you can also show them this token. Then, they'll know you have a special relationship with me. For my sake, they certainly won't have a go at you. Jian Wushuang took the token. When he heard Xueling Tian's words, a rush of joy washed over him. He was just thinking about asking Xueling Tian for a token like this. But Xueling Tian had given one to him on his own accord. This token not only could help him use the wormholes of the Void Temple, but also represent the identity of Darkblader Master. It might save his life in dire circumstances. This token was absolutely priceless. However, seeing Xue Lingtian only gave Jian Wushuang a token as a gift, Purple Mountain, and Bai Hu pulled a long face. Bai Hu said frankly, "First senior brother, you've given both second senior brother and I a token like this. It's only natural that our junior brother shall get one, too, but it's a bit petty to present it as a gift at our first meeting, isn't it?" "Yeah, first senior brother. This token is not enough for this occasion," Purple Mountain echoed. "I know." Xue Lingtian shrugged. "Since Master sent the message telling us we would have another junior brother, I've been preparing the gift for our first meeting. I have found a treasure, but that treasure is sort of unusual, and it takes some time to get. But unexpectedly, Master summoned us to help our junior brother who was in danger. So I got here and met him earlier than expected." "Really? That explains it." Purple Mountain and Bai, who were convinced. "Junior brother, I'll give you the gift when we meet next time. Or I can send a guy to deliver it to you. But now, I really can't present it. Hope you don't mind." Xue Lingtian gave a wry smile. "Sure, I am already very grateful that first senior brother has put so much effort into preparing my gift. I certainly don't care if the delivery date is a bit late." Jian Wushuang beamed. "Okay." Xue Lingtian nodded slightly. "When I obtain the treasure in a few days, I'll send it to you straight away. It will be quite helpful to you." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was quite looking forward to this gift. "Junior brother, have you got any plans for the near future? Are you going to stay inside the ancient sect?" Bai Hu suddenly turned to look at him and asked. "In the near future," Jian Wushuang pondered for a moment and shook his head. "I'll go out for some adventures." As expected, Bai Hu and the rest were not surprised at all at this. Well, the Firmament Territory is just a small parcel of land. Compared with the whole eternal world, it is miserably limited, and there are only a few experts here. With your current battle strength, junior brother, you surely need to travel more and see the vast world, Bai Hu said brightly. Jian Wushuang smiled, but did not reply. Indeed, the Firmament Territory was rather small, and the number of experts here was also quite limited. With his current battle strength, almost no one in this Firmament Territory was a match for him but the Tao Masters. By this point, the Firmament Territory was no longer appealing to him. Jian Wushuang was also aware that when an expert in Firmament Territory Sect reached Step 4 of the Eternal Realm, he would usually go to other places for adventures. The three magnates, the Ancient Sect, and the rest of the top sects in the Firmament Territory had brought up many experts at or above Step 4. Some of them even reached Step 6 of the Eternal Realm. But those Eternal Realm experts had long ago left the Firmament Territory. Few of them ever came back. That was also the real reason why there were no Eternal Realm experts above Step 4 in the Firmament Territory other than Xian Yi. If Junior Brother is really going to visit places outside the Firmament Territory, I want to give you a star map that I believe will come in handy. As he spoke, Xue Lingtian took out another token and handed it to Jian Wushuang. It contained geographic records of a vast domain. Taking the token, Jian Wushuang's mind raced. The view of a vast land instantly unscrolled before him. This land was so boundless that it was beyond Jian Wushuang's imagination. The Firmament Territory where he was staying merely took up an insignificant part of the whole region. On this star map, there were innumerable territories similar to the Firmament Territory. How vast! Jian Wushuang could not help but exclaim. First Senior Brother is one of the 18 Masters of the Void Temple, and The most impressive thing about this void temple is that it has loads of wormholes that lead to every corner of the eternal world. Thus, the star map you have received is the most complete and comprehensive map you can ever find. If you sell this star map in the market, the price shall be at least several million divine gems, Baihu said excitedly. Thank you very much, first senior brother, Jian Wushuang said immediately. You're welcome. Xue Lingtian smiled. Junior brother, the star map has brief introductions about all the marked places. Have a look and see which one you want to go to. Jian Wushuang started to examine this map at once. He looked through all the territories and soon fixed his eyes on an enormous region on the star map. There were no marked territories, but 4 big countries located in 4 directions. These 4 big countries took up nearly half of the whole star map. First senior brother, what are these 4 big countries? Jian Wushuang asked curiously. These are the 4 most powerful countries under control of my void temple. They are the Tang of the East, the West Paradise, the South Mountain Kingdom, and the North Sea Kingdom, Xue Lingtian answered. Each of the 4 big countries has incredible foundation and strength. Among the 4 big countries, the most special one is the Tang of the East. Tang of the East, Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly contracted. The Tang of the East, Emperor Shao, Di Jing, and Lung Rushuang were all from the Tang of the East. Emperor Shao even built up a Tang of the East in Jian Wushuang's hometown, which was on the Nanyang continent of the ancient world. Di Jing also mentioned the prosperous Tang. But there was still a lot about this Tang of the East that Jian Wushuang did not understand. For example, what were the true identities of Emperor Shao and Lung Rushuang there? Why did they fall to an ancient world? And what on earth was the icy heart poison that once poisoned Lung Rushuang? And why did Lung Rushuang take off for no reason? All these questions made Jian Wushuang long for a journey to the Tang of the East. Chapter 791, The Prosperous Tang. Chapter 791, The Prosperous Tang. First senior brother, you just said that of the 4 big counties, the Tang of the East was the most special. What does that mean? Jian Wushuang asked eagerly. I say it is special because the Tang of the East is the most ancient country among the 4 big countries, and it used to be the most powerful one as well. Xue Lingtian explained. The Tang of the East is slightly younger than the Void Temple. It was founded shortly after the Void Temple was established. No one knows the name of the founder of Tang of the East. People only know that he built the Tang of the East and address him as Tang Emperor in reverence. Tang Emperor? Jian Wushuang made a mental note of this name. The Tang Emperor has an unparalleled strength. Back then, his strength was just slightly inferior to that of our mysterious temple master, the founder of the Void Temple. Nearly no one was his match except for our temple master. However, soon after the Tang Emperor founded the Tang of the East, he disappeared. No one saw him again after that. Xue Lingtian said. Disappeared? Asked Jian Wushuang. He was intrigued. Although the Tang Emperor disappeared, he left 4 disciples to govern the Tang of the East on his behalf. These 4 disciples are also extremely powerful, and people call them the 4 emperors of the Eastern Land. Xue Lingtian went on. The 4 emperors are Empress Qing, Emperor Shao, Emperor Yun, and Empress Lung. Each of the 4 emperors has reached the peak of the Tao Master. In particular, Empress Qing is the strongest. Her strength is so mighty that it is almost on par with that of Tang Emperor. Under the governance of the 4 emperors, the Tang of the East thrived and prospered. Its success astonished the world and convinced numerous countries to submit themselves to the rule of Tang of the East. Its prosperity was unprecedented. When it was at the height of its power and splendor, Even the most ancient void temple in the eternal world had to be scrupulous about the Tang of the East. Xue Lingtian sighed in admiration as he recounted the glory of the kingdom Tang. He continued, "Later on, the other three big countries rose one after another, but they were still in awe of the Tang of the East and never did dare to confront it openly. And that is the period we refer to as the Prosperous Tang. Unfortunately, an unforeseen event occurred, which spelled the end of this period of prosperity." "What unforeseen event?" asked Jian Wushuang anxiously. "I don't know the details. All I know is that Empress Qing, the strongest out of the four emperors, was the first to meet his downfall." Xue Lingtian said slowly, "When Empress Qing died, Emperor Yun, a man who had always loved and admired her, was devastated. Then Emperor Yun left the Tang of the East by himself, and, just like his master Tang Emperor, disappeared. So the only two who remained were Emperor Shao and Empress Lung. The two were a couple at first. Under ordinary circumstances, with their excellent abilities, they could still make the Tang of the East flourish if they worked together. But for some unknown reason, not long after Emperor Yun took off, rumors abound that the couple was in discord. Then they completely severed their ties and even wielded a war against each other. That was the only internal conflict that the Tang of the East had ever experienced. That fight was incredulously fierce. Ultimately, Emperor Shao was defeated. She left the Tang of the East with her subordinates and concealed her whereabouts, leaving Empress Lung alone to take charge of the Tang of the East. Despite Empress Lung's strength and peerless wisdom, the battle strength of the Tang of the East was greatly reduced after the death of Empress Qing and the departure of Emperor Yun. His internal conflicts with Emperor Shao had also exhausted the treasury and severely weakened the Tang of the East. The other three big countries seized the opportunity to put pressure on the Tang of the East, preventing it from regaining its prosperity. Today, the Tang of the East is the weakest among the four big countries. If not for the possible return of the Tang Emperor, the other three big countries would have long engulfed the Tang of the East. Really? Hearing Xue Lingtian's account, Jian Wushuang could not help but heave a sigh. After a series of mishaps, the Tang of the East had fallen from its position at the top and hit rock bottom. At this point, Jian Wushuang was filled with burning questions. For example, why had the Tang Emperor disappeared? How come Empress Qing was dead? And why did the couple, Emperor Shao and Empress Lung, decide to turn against each other? Jian Wushuang was more confused than ever about the Tang of the East. "I'm in debt to Emperor Shao. The Tang of the East means a lot to me," Jian Wushuang said. He clenched his hands and looked around. "I've made up my mind. I'll go to the Tang of the East." "Oh," Xue Lingtian and the others smiled, but they were not surprised. Experts in the Tang of the East were as abundant as clouds. It was a great place for adventuring. By the way, I also heard that Emperor Shao and Empress Lung once raised a daughter named Lung Rushuang. It is said that Lung Rushuang is so beautiful that she astounds everyone who sees her. She must be the most beautiful woman in the eternal world. She's also exceedingly skillful at playing the Eastern zither. Those who were lucky enough to hear her play, including some Tao masters, were intoxicated with her music. Junior brother, if you're fortunate enough to meet this beauty when traveling in the Tang of the East, don't miss this great chance. Xue Lingtian said with amusement. Lung Rushuang. Jian Wushuang beamed as the image of that extraordinary beauty instantly appeared in his mind. Lung Rushuang was definitely the most gorgeous woman Jian Wushuang had ever met. No one else was that beautiful. In terms of temperament, Jian Wushuang had never seen another woman who was more aloof. As for Lung Rushuang's musical talents, her music had truly intoxicated him more than once. Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly altered, and he looked in the direction of Shui Lingtian. First senior brother, you just mentioned that Emperor Shao and Empress Lung had raised a daughter? Are you sure they only have one daughter? Yeah, I'm sure. Lung Rushuang is the only princess in the Tang of the East. Everybody knows that. What's the matter? Shui Lingtian asked, perplexed. Hearing this reply, Jian Wushuang's brows furrowed. If Lung Rushuang is the only daughter, then what about Lung Rushue? Jian Wushuang's mind was racing. When Jian Wushuang was in the ancient world, Lung Rushue had been the first person he had met. She was Lung Rushuang's younger sister. So, she had to be Emperor Zhao's daughter. Although Jian Wushuang had not met Lung Rushue after that, he would never forget the cute girl in filthy clothes. But if Emperor Shao and Empress Lung only had one daughter, then who on earth was Lung Rushue? Jian Wushuang shook his head and dismissed his thoughts. My present strength is, after all, very weak. After I've enhanced my strength, I'll go to the Tang of the East and search for all the answers. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. For the next few days, Jian Wushuang just sat with his master and 3 senior brothers, chatting and drinking merrily. Their chats revolved around the topic of the eternal world. Their talk went on for 3 days and nights. Swoosh! A figure suddenly appeared beside them. He was Palace Master Destruction, one of the 12 Palace Masters of the ancient Sect. Palace Master Xian Yi, the 3 magnates have delivered the things you asked for. Chapter 792, Master's Gifts, Section A. Chapter 792, Master's Gifts, Section A. Well, the 3 magnates acted quite speedily. Xian said with a faint smile, they must be fearful of us making a scene in their sects, so they didn't dare to delay the delivery. Bai Hu laughed. I'll go and have a look. Palace Master Xian Yi followed Palace Master Destruction to check the treasures. Soon he returned. Master, nothing wrong with those treasures? Shui Lingtian asked. Nothing wrong. The 3 magnates know who they're dealing with. Xian Yi smiled. Great. Shui Lingtian nodded and also got to his feet. He continued, Master, I still have many things to attend to in the Void Temple. Since the matter here is settled, please allow me to go back to the Void Temple now. We shall leave too. Bai Hu and Purple Mountain also stood up. This time, they had been summoned by Xian Yi and had come in a hurry, although they were all in the middle of something. Now that the matter was over, they would naturally return to their own places. Well, just go. Xian Yi waved a hand. Shui Lingtian and the other 2 bowed respectfully to Xian Yi and then walked up to Jian Wushuang. Junior brother, this is my message token. If you encounter any problems, just let me know through this message token. Shui Lingtian smiled. Thanks, senior brother. Jian Wushuang responded in gratitude. Bai Hu and Purple Mountain also handed their message tokens to Jian Wushuang. The 3 of them then departed. As he watched his 3 senior brothers leave, Jian Wushuang involuntarily heaved a sigh. Although he had not interacted much with his 3 senior brothers, Jian Wushuang could tell that the 3 senior brother all treated him with sincerity. You kid, Xian Yi looked at Jian Wushuang, still wearing a mild smile. Now that you've decided to travel, I won't stop you. Instead, I'll give you some treasures. Treasures? Jian Wushuang's heart lifted. Including you, I've taken in a total of 4 personal disciples so far. When your 3 senior brothers left the Firmament territory for their adventures, I also prepared some treasures for them. Each of them received 3 treasures, and so will you. Xianyi said. This time, I'll give you these 3 treasures without asking for anything in return. But in future, I'll never give you anything free of charge. Even when you need my help to refine magic weapons or produce elixirs, you'll have to pay a price. Understand? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly. It was already very generous for a master to give each of his disciples 3 treasures with no strings attached. After all, treasures would never be given freely. If one wanted them, he would need to fight for them with his own effort. The first treasure I reserved for you is a magic weapon. Xianyi said flatly. A magic weapon? Is it a sword? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, but not exactly a sword. Xianyi smiled. I've already given you the Emperor's sword. The Emperor's sword is an eternal weapon, the best of all the eternal weapons. Its power is already very impressive. Jian Wushuang nodded in agreement. The power of the Emperor's sword was indeed remarkable. During his fierce battles in recent years, the only weapon Jian Wushuang had used was the Emperor's sword. As he made progress, he was able to fully utilize the potential of the Emperor's sword. In turn, this magic weapon at the peak of the Eternal Realm enhanced his battle strength as well. The Emperor's sword is a pretty good weapon for battles, but it is not enough to be your trump card or help you maximize your battle strength. Thus, I want to give you another treasure, a magic weapon that has surpassed the Eternal Realm. Yeah, this is it. Xianyi smiled and held his palm out. A miniature mountain appeared on his palm. It was covered in green woods and forest and looked rather like a real mountain. Master, what's this? Jian Wushuang stared at this miniature mountain in amazement. This was the magic weapon that Xianyi had prepared for him. This was just a scaled-down version of a mountain. Well, you don't recognize it. Xianyi was still beaming at Jian Wushuang. You've spent a total of 6 years at this place practicing martial skills. Practice for 6 years. Jian Wushuang was taken aback. He gazed at the miniature mountain with a terrified look. This is the Sword Mountain. Jian Wushuang stuttered. He had stayed for a relatively long period in the ancient sect. He had spent 6 years on the Sword Mountain for study and practice. However, the Sword Mountain was a majestic mountain. While now, Jian Wushuang stared unblinkingly at the small mountain on Xianyi's palm. Its appearance was truly quite similar to the Sword Mountain that he had lived on for years despite the disparity in size. Your eyes didn't betray you. This is truly the Sword Mountain. I've refined the Sword Mountain with special means. Didn't I ask the 3 magnates for 5 kilograms of the orichalcum? That is because I need it to further refine this Sword Mountain. Xianyi said, beaming. Jian Wushuang couldn't believe his ears. Refining a huge mountain into a treasure. What kind of means did Xianyi use? Don't look down on it. The Sword Mountain itself has some very powerful restriction formations. Though I've refined it, those restriction formations can still work. Therefore, there are 2 major uses of this Sword Mountain. First, it can turn into a sword-shaped offensive magic weapon. As he spoke, Xianyi flipped his palm. The miniature mountain in his hand instantly started to change. Very quickly, it turned into a long sword, which was more than 2 meters long. This long sword was scarlet, as if it had been soaked in blood. Moreover, though it was a magic weapon transformed from a mountain, the edge of the long sword was extremely sharp and glinted with chilling light. Jian Wushuang goggled at the 2-meter-long scarlet longsword. It looked quite normal on the surface, but when Jian Wushuang saw its sword heart, he saw a world of hell with innumerable corpses littering the ground and a vast ocean of blood. This was definitely the appalling sword of killing. What a horrible sword! Jian Wushuang exclaimed. This is the state when you use it as an offensive magic weapon. If you also turn into an ancient god, you can control its size. Next, I'll show you the mountain that it can change into. As Xiani finished these words, he tossed the weapon up in the air. Rumbling, a gigantic mountain suddenly appeared in the void over their heads. It obscured the sun and the sky as it fell rapidly towards them. At the bottom of the mountain, there were countless abstruse and mysterious cracks. These looked like open mouths that would swallow everything in their path. This state is devised to suppress your enemies. It has a built-in secret skill for suppression. When you refine it and become its master, you can directly grasp this skill. Xiani said, Chapter 793, Master's Gifts, Section B. Chapter 793, Master's Gifts, Section B. Suppression? Jian Wushuang said with a curious expression. He had never heard that a magic weapon could, in addition to releasing overbearing offensive power, turn into a mountain to suppress the opponent. He had also never witnessed anyone try to refine a huge mountain into a magic weapon. The only explanation was the unusual means that his master had used. Take this magic weapon now. You can refine it and become its official owner. Xian Yi's mind stirred, causing the gigantic mountain to shrink and return to his palm. He handed the miniature sword mountain to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took it. Stifling his astonishment, he started to refine the weapon to take ownership of it. This process went quite smoothly. After a moment, Jian Wushuang successfully mastered the magic weapon. Now he could fully control the magic weapon. He could direct the magic weapon to turn into a 2-meter-long scarlet longsword or transform into a real mountain. He had also learnt another secret skill about suppression. This secret skill, together with the sword mountain, would easily suppress the opponent. Once suppressed, his opponent's life would be under Jian Wushuang's control, even if he was a Dao master. This really is an incredible magic weapon. Jian Wushuang said in admiration, Master, does this magic weapon have a name? I just refined it, so I haven't named it yet. Why don't you do it? Xian Yi beamed. Name it. Jian Wushuang squinted. He flipped his hand, and the magic weapon turned into a 2-meter scarlet longsword. Its aura was overwhelming. Since this sword was refined from the sword mountain, and it is as scarlet as blood, I shall call it the Blood Mountain Sword. Jian Wushuang muttered. Blood Mountain Sword? Xian Yi shrugged indifferently. This magic weapon is extraordinarily powerful and valuable. You need to be prudent when using it. You'd better not use it except in dire circumstances. When I refined this magic weapon, I used my skills to conceal its aura and some of its wonders. Most won't be able to see its special qualities. Anyone perceptive enough to detect its extraordinary features would certainly kill you for it, even if he is already a Dao master. Even a Dao master would want to have it. Jian Wushuang was taken aback. Then he nodded gravely. He knew that the Blood Mountain Sword was quite unusual. He would never resort to using it unless he was desperate. I've presented you with the first treasure. Next, I'll show you the second one. Xian Yi took out another token. A token? Jian Wushuang looked at it. This token is devised to save your life. Xian Yi smiled blandly. When you fought against Tian Yunzi's doppelganger, you crumbled a wilted leaf and nearly killed it. You must have obtained that wilted leaf in the Eternal Zone, right? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. The token I'll give you is of the same nature as that wilted leaf, but it's more useful. Xian Yi said, This token contains 3 streaks of sword essences. Once you've refined it, you can guide the 3 streaks of sword essence to battle with your enemies or to break up a formation. Anyway, only use it at crucial moments. The first streak of sword essence is the weakest and the third is the strongest. Although the first streak of sword essence is the most vulnerable one, it is comparable to and may even exceed the power of the wilted leaf you used. Jian Wushuang was stunned. The first streak among the 3 streaks of sword essence was the weakest, but it was still more powerful than the one Elder Yi had stored in the wilted leaf. Elder Yi was a 3-star ancient god. He released Tao Master's power, even if he just pointed at a random spot. When Jian Wushuang had crushed that wilted leaf, the power released had been staggering. Even the original body of Tian Yunzi was hurt when he strode forward to block the power. But the 3 streaks of sword essence were more powerful. Master, how did you come by such a powerful token? Jian Wushuang asked skeptically. I actually got this token by luck. Xianyi explained. Back then, when I was traveling around, I met a sword principle expert whose strength was terrifying. His name was Sword 11. In the eternal world, he was known as the Sunrise Sword Emperor. Sword Emperor? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Given that Sword 11 was referred to as Sword Emperor, his sword principle cultivation must be extraordinary. Sword 11's cultivation in swordsmanship reached great heights a long time ago. When I first met him, he happened to be in need of my help. So, I did him a favor. He gave me this token as a reward. Xianyi recounted his story with a smile. That's it. Jian Wushuang scowled suspiciously. Could this be the real story? A sword emperor of the eternal world had asked his master for a favor. Jian Wushuang shook his head and took the token without a second thought. Now, I've given you 2 treasures. As for the 3rd treasure, it's the same as your first senior brother's gift. Xianyi beamed at Jian Wushuang and said, the 3rd treasure is quite special. Even I find it extremely hard to refine. At present, I'm still preparing it and cannot give it to you yet. Later, I'll find a suitable time to deliver it to you. Yeah, thank you, Master. Jian Wushuang nodded in anticipation. Xue Lingtian was a man of prominent status and dreadful strength. If even he needed to expend some effort to prepare it, Jian Wushuang knew that the gift had to be extremely valuable. Now, his master, who could refine a natural mountain into a peerless magic weapon with brilliant skills, was preparing the 3rd treasure for him. Since his master found it difficult to refine, it must be even more impressive. Although Jian Wushuang could not get his hands on the 2 treasures yet, he was already quite contented. Master, there is one more thing I wanted to ask. Jian Wushuang said abruptly. Go ahead. Xianyi said, still beaming. I spent 100 years in the Eternal Zone. During those years, the ancient god clan in the Eternal Zone treated me as their own clansman. That's why I didn't die, but instead became stronger. Jian Wushuang said. He stared at Xianyi, anxious at how he would react. Xianyi merely sniffed, but his expression was unchanged. He remained mild-mannered and did not appear pleased or angry. Do you know why they treated me like that, Master? Asked Jian Wushuang. How would I know that? Xianyi shook his head repeatedly. Does the whole thing really have nothing to do with the universal Tao scripture that you gave me? Jian Wushuang's brows furrowed. He had speculated at length about why he had the bloodline of the ancient god clan. The most likely explanation was the universal Tao scripture. Chapter 794, Before the Departure. Chapter 794, Before the Departure. The universal Tao scripture. Xianyi laughed. You're overanalyzing this. The universal Tao scripture is unusually powerful, but not to the extent that it can change the soul and bloodline that a man has inherited since his birth. Therefore, the fact that you have the bloodline of the ancient god clan is not directly related to the universal Tao scripture. It's not because of the universal Tao scripture. Jian Wushuang's eyebrows were deeply furrowed now. If it was not because of the universal Tao scripture, where did his ancient god bloodline come from? Was he really born with it? But he has been born in the Sword Marquis mansion. He was a descendant of the Sword ancestor, who had nothing to do with the ancient god clan. He could not have inherited the bloodline of the ancient god clan from his father's family. Could it be my mother? Jian Wushuang's expression changed suddenly. It was clear that his father's bloodline had no connection with the ancient god clan. But his mother, well, Jian Wushuang still had no idea who his mother really was. If his mother did have something to do with the ancient god clan, that might be the real cause. Well, heaving a sigh, Jian Wushuang stopped his ruminations. He lifted his head. His eyes were filled with determination. He said, "There are more puzzles in my head now. Seems that the only thing I can do now is to improve my strength. When I become powerful enough, I'll search for the answers, one by one." After talking with Xian Yi for a while, Jian Wushuang was ready to depart. Before leaving, he bid farewell to the friends who had joined the ancient sect with him. Jian Wushuang reunited with Feng, Huaing, Bingshan, Xianing, and Wu Huang on the Enlightenment Mountain, where the six of them drank and chatted. All of them were from the ancient world. They had been chosen by Xian Yi after displaying their talents during the Firmament Territory Feast, and had been brought to the ancient sect at the same time. Apart from Jian Wushuang, Feng had the greatest achievement among the six of them. He had reached the level of the superior divine realm expert, given that his master, Palace Master Destruction, was teaching him personally. It was only a matter of time before he broke through the eternal realm. As for the other four, although they were all divine realm experts, their achievements were limited and their chances of breaking through the eternal realm were quite slim. Jian Wushuang, among all the guys I've met, I admire you most. You're just a divine realm expert, but you defeated all the eternal realm experts of the three magnates. That's unbelievable. Huaing raised his cup and exclaimed. The story of that battle had long since spread across the entire Firmament Territory. Everyone, including the ancient sect disciples, was aware of Jian Wushuang's remarkable showing at the battle. Now, those disciples regarded Jian Wushuang as their role model and could not help singing his praises when they traveled outside. After all, Jian Wushuang was a member of their ancient sect. Jian Wushuang, I heard you are going to leave the Firmament Territory and travel around the world. Feng looked at Jian Wushuang and asked, Yeah. Jian Wushuang nodded and smiled. I'm here just to say goodbye to you guys. Tut, tut. Leaving the Firmament Territory. Master once mentioned that traveling alone outside without the strength of an eternal realm expert was courting death. If we did that, we might get killed by bandits wandering about. But you've only stayed in the eternal world for 100 years. Yet you're ready to go outside by yourself. That's impressive. Feng was effusive in his praise. Ha ha. Jian Wushuang laughed. Then he raised his cup and said, Stop flattering me. Come on, let's drink. The six continued to drink. Their drinking feast lasted for 1 day and 1 night. Thereafter, Jian Wushuang sent a message to Palace Master Xian Yi and then left the ancient sect. The moment Jian Wushuang took off, Palace Master Xian Yi summoned all the palace masters of the Tao Palace and the top-level experts of the ancient sect. In a magnificent hall, Palace Master Xian Yi sat at the highest spot and looked down at the experts of the ancient sect as he gave his orders. From now on, our ancient sect has no sword palace. Xian Yi's booming voice reverberated through the hall. His words shocked every expert, but he continued without showing any concern. I'll create a new palace. As for the name, just call it the Staff Palace. Following its predecessors, the Saber Palace, the Spear Palace, the Axe Palace, and the Sword Palace, the Staff Palace was finally established in the ancient sect. After leaving the ancient sect, Jian Wushuang did not hurry to get out of the firmament territory. This was because there was an important thing he needed to do before he left. The sky was azure blue and as clear as a polished porcelain plate. In the midst of a mountain range, lightning struck continuously and formed a vast sea of thunderbolts which surrounded a huge sect. This was the Universal Thunder Sect. The Universal Thunder Sect was a very powerful medium sect in the firmament territory. Among the medium sects in the firmament territory, the Universal Thunder Sect was regarded as one of the best, which was only second in the 9 top-ranking sects in the firmament territory. Swoosh! A figure suddenly appeared in the void over the sect. Universal Thunder Sect. Clothed in a black robe with a longsword strapped to his back, Jian Wushuang looked down at the sect with a cold expression on his face. Jian Wushuang was very familiar with the Universal Thunder Sect. The Universal Thunder Sect was the first sect in the eternal world that he had engaged. Back then, he had struggled to hunt down Su Ming, the man who had betrayed the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. Jian Wushuang had even overcome the Dark Emperor, a top 3 expert in the ancient world, who had barred his way. But in the end, he had still failed to kill Su Ming. It was because when Su Ming was in the ancient world, he had obtained a token of a Universal Thunder Sect expert. Just as Jian Wushuang was about to murder Su Ming, the latter had crumbled the token. In an instant, a divine realm expert of the Universal Thunder Sect had descended and spirited Su Ming away. At that time, Su Ming had begged the divine realm expert to kill Jian Wushuang on the spot. But fortunately, Di Jing had launched an attack and saved Jian Wushuang's life. Later, when Jian Wushuang arrived at the Eternal World, he had kept an eye on the Universal Thunder Sect. Being a medium sect, the Universal Thunder Sect had multiple Eternal Realm experts to guarantee their security. Jian Wushuang was only a disciple of the ancient sect. Without employing the power of the ancient sect, Jian Wushuang was powerless against the Universal Thunder Sect. Now, the situation had changed. According to the files I attained from the ancient sect, there are a total of 5 Eternal Realm experts in the Universal Thunder Sect, but their strength levels are just average. The strongest one among them only has battle strength at step 3, and the protective array they have is not too powerful. I can totally wipe out this kind of sect by myself. The killing intent rose up in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Su Ming had betrayed and destroyed his ancestor. He was responsible for the irreversible decline of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. Back then, Su Ming had pushed Jian Wushuang against the wall. Now, Jian Wushuang was definitely going to take revenge on him. Su Ming must be killed. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. Instantly, a stream of frightening killing intent was directed towards the sect with immense pressure. Chapter 795, The Universal Thunder Sect. Chapter 795, The Universal Thunder Sect. Rumbling sounds were heard as formidable pressure penetrated the protective array of the Universal Thunder Sect. The entire area of the Universal Thunder Sect started to tremble. Many warriors leaped up in alarm. Who is it? The 5 Eternal Realm experts of the Universal Thunder Sect were also alerted. They immediately appeared in the void above the Universal Thunder Sect. The 5 stood side by side. One of them was a purple-haired elder whose forehead bore a mark in the shape of a thundercloud. The purple-haired elder scowled at Jian Wushuang. He could feel that Jian Wushuang was the cause of the horrible pressure that made him shudder. A divine realm expert, the purple-haired elder was astonished. How can a divine realm expert exert so much pressure? Could he be? It's him. It's Jian Wushuang. A woman behind him shrieked in shock. At the Firmament Territory feast, I met him in the Skyward Pavilion. I'm sure it's him. Jian Wushuang. On hearing his name, the 5 Eternal Realm experts of the Universal Thunder Sect felt a chill. Jian Wushuang was no longer the man he was 100 years ago. Not long ago, when the Eternal Zone was opened, the 3 magnates had put in their best efforts to take on Jian Wushuang. But they had failed. Jian Wushuang's strength was widely known, although he was merely a divine realm expert. His true power was much greater than any of them. The Universal Thunder Sect could ill afford to mess with an illustrious figure like him. Reflecting on this, the purple-haired elder gave an embarrassed smile and said humbly, "Are you the young fellow Jian Wushuang from the ancient sect?" "Yes, I am." Jian Wushuang answered coldly, "I am Lei Xin, the Vice Sect Master of the Universal Thunder Sect. I wonder what instructions you have for us today." "Vice Sect Master?" Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed. "Where's your Sect Master?" "Young fellow, our Universal Thunder Sect has a total of 3 Sect Masters, but they left for their travels long ago, so they're not in our sect now." Lei Xin said. "Oh." Jian Wushuang nodded. He knew that regardless of their sects, all experts in the Firmament Territory who were ambitious and craved for more strength would venture outside when their strength reached a certain level. The same went for the 3 Sect Masters of the Universal Thunder Sect. "Lei Xin, I'll cut to the chase. A disciple of the Universal Thunder Sect is my foe. If you hand him over to me, I'll take off straight away and not lay a finger on your Universal Thunder Sect." Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. "An implacable foe?" Lei Xin was appalled. "Who has been so ignorant to provoke you? My young fellow, tell us who he is. Even if you don't act, our Universal Thunder Sect will immediately kill him to give vent to your indignation." This man's name is Su Ming. 100 years ago, someone from the Universal Thunder Sect picked him up from the ancient world. Jian Wushuang said, "Su Ming." Lei Xin was confused momentarily, but soon understanding dawned on him. "It's him. Seems that you know who I'm looking for, right?" Jian Wushuang's lips curled. "Hand him over." Lei Xin gave a bitter smile and said, "My young fellow Jian Wushuang, sorry, I can't hand him over." "What did you say?" Jian Wushuang's face darkened. The killing intent that had initially subsided now reemerged. "Please calm down, my young fellow." Lei Yin's face was sour. "It's not that our Universal Thunder Sect is unwilling to give him to you. It's because he already left our Universal Thunder Sect a long time ago." "Left?" Jian Wushuang's expression altered. "Yes, he left." Lei Yin continued to explain. "I know Su Ming. He had in his possession something that Sect Master Lei Xin had left in the ancient world. So Sect Master Lei Xin dispatched a man to bring him here from the ancient world. He did stay in our Universal Thunder Sect for some time, but he left us. It's been over 100 years since he left. Well, I remember it was exactly the time when the Firmament Territory Feast had concluded and you started to be famous that Sect Master Lei Xin sent his men to see Su Ming off." "Really? You're not tricking me, are you?" Jian Wushuang looked into Lei Yan's eyes. "I wouldn't dare, young fellow. If you don't believe me, I can shut down the protective array of our Universal Thunder Sect and let you in to make a careful search." As he finished his words, Lei Yin sent a guy to shut down the protective array. Jian Wushuang realized that Lei Yin was telling the truth. The Sect Master Lei Xin, whom you mentioned, is one of the 3 Sect Masters of your Universal Thunder Sect, isn't he? Jian Wushuang demanded. Yes. Lei Yin nodded. Sect Master Lei Xin has long since left us and has been traveling. He hasn't returned for a long period. Su Ming was lucky to find the token left by Sect Master Lei Xin in the ancient world and got himself connected to Sect Master Lei Xin. Before Su Ming, Sect Master Lei Xin had no disciples. Judging from the current situation, he is going to take Su Ming in as his disciple, and this is why he sent Su Ming away. Do you know where Sect Master Lei Xin is? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, I do. Sect Master Lei Xin is on the Cercis island, and he seems to have joined an influential organization. Lei Yin replied, honestly, Cercis island. Something occurred to Jian Wushuang. He took out the star map that Shui Ling Tian had given him and started to peruse that map. A few seconds later, he spotted the whereabouts of the Cercis island. It's here, near the kingdom Tang of the eastern land. Jian Wushuang's eyes gleamed. He had planned to head to the kingdom Tang of the eastern land first, and the Cercis island happened to be on the route that he would be taking. After passing the Cercis island, he would reach the kingdom Tang of the eastern land. Great, Cercis island is on the way to that kingdom. Jian Wushuang smiled. He cast a look at Lei Yin and his companions and said, Excuse me? As his words faded, Jian Wushuang leaped up and vanished from sight. Watching Jian Wushuang disappear, Lei Yin and the other 4 Eternal Realm experts of the Universal Thunder Sect heaved sighs of relief. They were worried that Jian Wushuang would vent his anger on the Universal Thunder Sect because of Su Ming. With Jian Wushuang's abilities, it was no problem for him to destroy the entire Universal Thunder Sect. Never thought that the disciple sect Master Lei Xin had taken in is a sworn enemy of Jian Wushuang. Now we're in trouble. An Eternal Realm expert blurted, Lei Yin, what shall we do now? The other Eternal Realm experts all turned to look at Lei Yin. At present, it was Lei Yin who was in charge of the Universal Thunder Sect. Send a message to Sect Master Lei Xin and tell him to handle this matter. Lei Yin said. Tip him off. The rest were taken aback. If they warned Sect Master Lei Xin, would they upset Jian Wushuang? Our Universal Thunder Sect truly cannot piss off Jian Wushuang. That's a fact. Sect Master Lei Xin is one of the 3 Sect Masters of our Universal Thunder Sect. He can't forbid us from sending our Sect Master a message. Can he? Lei Yin grunted. In reality, he was unsure about the answer as well. Chapter 796, Honing Skills on the Way. Chapter 796, Honing Skills on the Way. After his visit to the Universal Thunder Sect, Jian Wushuang had nothing else to attend to in the Firmament territory. Thus, he took off on the same day. Several days later, in the sky over a vast wasteland outside the Firmament territory, whoosh, 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 whoosh. 10 bandits besieged a black-robed youth carrying a longsword. A brown-haired man who seemed to be their leader snarled, Brat, you just got out of the Firmament territory, right? A divine realm expert dares travel out of the Firmament territory. How stupid you are. Ha! The other bandits burst out laughing. Given that you're a dumbass, as long as you hand over your interspatial ring and all the treasures you're carrying, we will spare your life. Otherwise, you'll die. The brown-haired man bellowed. There was a chilly look in his eyes. Surrounded by the bandits, Jian Wushuang looked around with the trace of a smile on his lips. I heard that there were many bandits robbing travelers in the gray zone. It would be highly risky to travel across the gray zone without eternal realm strength. I've finally learned today that it's true. Jian Wushuang glanced at the bandits around him, and discovered that most of them were divine realm experts, whereas that brown-haired man was a real eternal realm expert. The eternal world must be more brutal than the ancient world. In places within territories like the Firmament Territory, there were assorted sects in control. Therefore, there was still some semblance of order. In the eternal world, many places were not within any territories. These included the common boundaries or intervals between territories and could span a considerably large area. Those places were called the gray zone. The gray zone was quite a mess. Nobody had bothered to restore order, so bandits were rampant and experts passing by usually became their targets. Therefore, rumors abound in the Firmament Territory that traveling in a gray zone without reaching the eternal realm was courting death. The bandits never picked their victims randomly. They had no fear of divine realm experts. Any of the bandits could easily rob a divine realm expert, but if the traveler had reached the eternal realm consisted of 6 steps, and it was extremely difficult to cross the gap between each of the 6 steps of the eternal realm. To judge which step an expert was at, it would depend on his sword heart, saber heart, etc. But the true power of the sword heart or saber heart would not be apparent if the expert did not display his real skills. Hence, even if an eternal realm expert stood before you, you would never know his strength unless he struck. It was possible that the person was an eternal realm expert who had not even crossed the threshold of step 1, but he could also be an expert at the peak of step 6 of the eternal realm. Due to the difficulty in identifying the level of an eternal realm expert, bandits would usually not have a go at them. Seeing that Jian Wushuang was merely a divine realm expert, the bandits targeted him. I just left the Firmament Territory and am on my way to the Tang of the East. That is a really distant kingdom. I probably have to spend years to get there. It'll be too boring if I travel on my own for such a long period. But if there are bandits to entertain me, that'll be fantastic. And you bandits seem pretty powerful. One of you has even reached the eternal realm. It's a good chance for me to hone my swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang smiled. In the next moment, he leaped forward with incredible speed. As he did so, a streak of invincible sword essence also burst out. You want to put up a fight? The brown-haired man was furious. He barked, "Guys, kill him." The two sides immediately crossed swords. Jian Wushuang demonstrated his swordsmanship at once. He did not unleash his full strength. On the contrary, he deliberately stifled his power and maintained it at the basic level of a superior divine realm expert. He started to fight solely with his swordsmanship. Nevertheless, his brilliant swordsmanship enabled him to dispatch the ordinary divine realm experts easily. As for the brown-haired man, he was an eternal realm expert, but had not even crossed the threshold of step 1. Even though Jian Wushuang had repressed his power, he was still able to destroy him with his swordsmanship. In just a few minutes, the bandits who had besieged Jian Wushuang were all dead, including the brown-haired man. None of them had managed to escape. "Go ahead." Jian Wushuang set off and continued to head in the direction of the Tang of the East with the help of the star map. He traveled along the borders of territories. Very often, he would run into bandits in the gray zone and fight them. By fighting those bandits, Jian Wushuang was improving himself and his swordsmanship. Every time he fought, he would deliberately constrain his power and leave his sword heart inactivated. He merely relied on swordsmanship to fight his opponents. He only went all out when he encountered really powerful experts. But none of the bandits in the gray zone were of that caliber. So far, the strongest one Jian Wushuang met was merely at step 4 of the eternal realm. As for the experts who were at or above step 5 of the eternal realm, They had no need to be bandits. In any territory, they would be big shots. Therefore, with Jian Wushuang's strength, traveling in the gray zone was not that dangerous. Time passed as Jian Wushuang traveled and upgraded his power in numerous battles. Splash! A vast and boundless sea surged with great momentum. The seawater was as blue as the sky, with waves moving across its surface. A large island floated in the center of this boundless sea. Although it was called an island, its land area was huge. Its diameter was hundreds of miles. It was the Cercis Island. It was the place that Jian Wushuang would pass on his way to the Tang of the East. The Cercis Island was also the place where Sect Master Lei Xin of Universal Thunder Sect and Su Ming were staying. Clothed in black robes with a long sword strapped to his back, Jian Wushuang watched the huge island from the void over the endless sea with his arms crossed. It's been 37 years. Have I finally arrived at the Cercis Island? Jian Wushuang smirked. The Cercis Island was more than millions of miles away from the firmament territory. Between the two, there were over 100 territories. Normally, if a man wanted to travel to this place from the firmament territory, it would certainly take him at least 100 years, perhaps longer if there were delays from encounters with bandits. Jian Wushuang had managed this in merely 37 years. When he had entered a territory that was a branch of the Void Temple, he had spent 10 million divine gems to use the space wormhole, which sent him directly to a spot very close to the Cercis Island. Chapter 797, Cercis Island. Chapter 797, Cercis Island. Cercis Island was very prosperous. There were plenty of shops and huge crowds of people. Soon after arriving on the island, Jian Wushuang found that the experts here had pretty high standards. There were countless divine realm experts here, and there were many experts at the Eternal Realm. When he arrived at the island, he headed directly for an intelligence shop. Please give me a piece of information about Cercis Island. The more detailed, the better, Jian Wushuang said to the attendant at the counter. The most detailed information will cost 100,000 divine gems, the attendant replied with a smile. It's so expensive. Jian Wushuang recoiled inwardly at the price. 100,000 divine gems was about all money that a superior divine realm expert would own. It's just a piece of detailed information about this island. The cost is exorbitant. Despite this, Jian Wushuang purchased the information at a cost of 100,000 divine gems. In the last 37 years that he spent traveling, he had met and killed scores of bandits, some of whom were experts at Step 1 or Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. He had obtained many divine gems from them, adding on to his stash from the firmament territory. Now, he still had a large number of divine gems left after his trip through the wormhole of the Void Temple. Thus, 100,000 divine gems was relatively insignificant to Jian Wushuang. And I also want the details of an expert on Cercis Island, Jian Wushuang added. Whose? The attendant inquired. Lei Xin. He's a strong guy, an Eternal Realm expert. He should have broken through to Step 4 of the Eternal Realm at least, perhaps even Step 5. I heard that he has joined a great power, and that he has a disciple named Su Ming, Jian Wushuang replied flatly. Wait a minute, please, the attendant said as he looked down to search for information. After a while, he looked up again and continued, I found the details of the man you mentioned. This information is very valuable. The price is 200,000 divine gems. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang paid 200,000 divine gems. The attendant quickly arranged all the information, handed it to Jian Wushuang, and said, This is what you've bought. Jian Wushuang took the information and placed it in his interspatial ring, then walked away. There were numerous shops and taverns on the busy streets of Cercis Island. Jian Wushuang entered a 3-story tavern. He chose a seat near the window and ordered a jug of wine. He began to drink while perusing the information he had bought. Tut, tut, the Lord of Cercis Island is really awesome. Jian Wushuang gasped in admiration. According to the information he had obtained, there was a lord of this Cercis Island who possessed exceptional power. Cercis Island abutted the Tang of the East. Its location had led to a large number of experts passing through. Many experts often gathered on the island. Having to face so many experts, the Lord of Cercis Island had adopted a tough stance, and what he said carried weight. He had made many rules on Cercis Island, and no one had ever dared to break them, including the supreme experts in the level of Tao Master. It was said that a powerful Tao Master had once violated the rules, challenged the authority of the Lord of Cercis Island. The Lord had dealt with him personally. The powerful Tao Master had been immediately suppressed by the Lord of Cercis Island. The Lord's power may not be as great as that of the 4 emperors at the height of the Tang of the East, but many in the eternal world were in awe of his power. The information also mentioned that he was eccentric and that his rules were outlandish. The first rule was that private fighting and killing were not allowed on Cercis Island. For that reason, there was a blood battle arena on the island, which had been specially established for fights. In the blood battle arena, the fighters were not restrained even if someone was killed, whereas the fighters would come to a bad end if they fought on the other parts of the island and were caught. The Lord of Cercis Island built up the Cercis army at great expense to keep the peace on the island. Jian Wushuang read. Then he squinted through the window at the teams of purple-armored sergeants who occasionally passed the street below the tavern. Those sergeants were part of the Cercis army. The army, founded by the Lord of Cercis Island, consisted of 10,000 sergeants. Every sergeant in the army was carefully selected. Even the weakest sergeant had the battle strength of a superior divine realm expert, and the leader of a 10-sergeant squad was in the eternal realm. Within the Cercis army, the higher the rank of a sergeant, the more formidable he was. Of the 10,000 Cercis army sergeants, the weakest is the superior divine realm expert, and about 1,000 sergeants are experts in the eternal realm. Jian Wushuang was impressed. There were more eternal realm experts in the army than in all of the firmament territory. The sergeants are scattered all over the island, so no matter where the fighting is happening, swift action can be taken by the army. In addition, some of the sergeants are at step 4 or 5 of the eternal realm, which guarantees that fierce fights can be easily suppressed. Jian Wushuang went on reading and thought to himself, if I fight on this island, I'm afraid I'll be put down by them too. Fortunately, this rule is not absolute, he murmured and smiled. The second rule of Cercis Island stated that anyone who had won 10 times in a row in the blood battle arena would be entitled to a Cercis token. That token gave its owner the privilege to kill people anywhere on the island. The first rule forbade fighting and killing, while the second gave some experts the privilege of killing. It demonstrated how strange the island owner's rules were. Blood Battle Arena. The information purchased by Jian Wushuang also contained details about the Blood Battle Arena. The Blood Battle Arena was the craziest killing field on Cercis Island, a battlefield for life or death duels. Many experts had fought each other in the Blood Battle Arena. There were usually casualties for at least one side. Fighters typically met cruel ends. So the people who fought in the Blood Battle Arena were real experts who had great confidence in themselves. After 10 consecutive victories in the Blood Battle Arena, the winner would be given a Cercis token. The Cercis token gave the winner many privileges on Cercis Island. such as shopping concessions in all its shops, and the privilege of living on the island all year round. It was said that it was possible to obtain 100 victories in a row. However, few experts could achieve this, and such an expert may not show up one for hundreds of years. It was more common to see experts winning 10 consecutive victories. As Jian Wushuang went through the information, he suddenly noticed a handsome young man escorted by 2 guards into the shop opposite the tavern. Immediately, his face became grim, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. "Su Ming," Jian Wushuang muttered. He clenched his hands resentfully, and the cup in his hand nearly crumbled. Chapter 798, Blood Battle Arena. Chapter 798, Blood Battle Arena. After entering the shop, the handsome young man, Su Ming, walked quickly towards its interior, where a bald elder bearing a thundercloud mark between his eyes quietly sat cross-legged. "Master," Su Ming greeted him respectfully. "Elder Lei Xin." The 2 guards also addressed him courteously. Lei Xin nodded to them and turned his eyes on Su Ming. "Where have you been?" "I've just been wandering the streets nearby, Master," Su Ming answered with a forced smile. Lei Xion's face abruptly darkened. "Humph, I've warned you several times not to stay out of my sight for this period. But have you actually been listening?" he reprimanded Su Ming coldly. Su Ming frowned and argued, "Master, it's just Jian Wushuang. This is Cercis Island. Unless he is a fool, he would know the consequences of fighting on the island. Furthermore, I have 2 protectors with me. He doesn't have the ability to kill me even if he finds me. There's still a risk. Lei Yan told me that although Jian Wushuang may only be a divine realm expert, his strength is so extraordinary that even he, an expert at step 3 of the eternal realm, was frightened. If Jian Wushuang does try to assassinate you, I'm afraid you won't be able to escape," Lei Xian said in a deep tone. A divine realm expert had frightened an expert at step 3 of the eternal realm? "Do you really believe that, Master?" Su Ming sneered. Lei Xian squinted and looked, deep in thought. The gap between the divine realm and the eternal realm was huge. It was impressive for a divine realm expert to match an ordinary eternal realm expert. Such a divine realm expert could be regarded as the strongest divine realm expert. It was almost impossible for a divine realm expert to be stronger than an expert at step 3 of the eternal realm. In any case, Lei Xian had never seen or even heard of such a mighty expert before. "It's always wise to play safe," Lei Xian told Su Ming gravely. He glanced at the 2 guards beside Su Ming and ordered, "You 2 have to follow him closely." "Yes, Elder Lei Xian, rest assured. We will stay close to Master Su Ming," one of the 2 guards promised. "Good." Lei Xian nodded and turned to Su Ming. "Always take with you the thing I gave you. Never remove it or put it in your interspatial ring. If you are really in danger, it could save your life." "I got it, Master," Su Ming nodded deferentially. "You can leave now," Lei Xian said, and waved them away. Su Ming and his 2 guards left immediately. The bald elder Lei Xian continued to sit there quietly as he watched Su Ming's retreating figure. He shook his head, silently. Lei Xian was born without any family. He grew up alone in adversity, joined the Universal Thunder Sect, and eventually became the Sect master. He had always been alone, with no master or disciple. The opportunity he had left in the ancient world had been obtained by Su Ming. The latter, like him, was a man who would do anything to attain his goal. Therefore, he had accepted Su Ming as his disciple. It was not easy for him to get a disciple, so he valued Su Ming very much. After leaving Lei Xian, Su Ming and his 2 guards emerged from the shop and walked to the next street. Jian Wushuang had been watching them from the tavern in silence. He had no intention of taking action. The sect master, Lei Xin, really treasures his disciple. He actually arranged for 2 Eternal Realm experts to be Su Ming's guards. Humph, he deserves to be one of the guest elders of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. Jian Wushuang's lips were pressed into a thin smile. He continued to drink in solitude. He had read Lei Xion's information carefully. When Lei Xion had left the Firmament territory, he had only been at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. As he wandered, his strength had grown. Now he was at step 5 of the Eternal Realm and had even broken through to the top of this step. In a nutshell, he was extremely powerful. Most importantly, Lei Xion was a guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. The Heavenly Cloud Pavilion was a force to be reckoned with in Cercis Island. On this island, the most exalted one was surely the Lord of Cercis Island and his Cercis army. In addition to the Lord of Cercis Island, there were 6 forces that were entrenched on Cercis Island. All the 6 forces were under the command of the Lord. Usually, they operated as separate entities. They had a long history and were very strong. They were said to have Tao masters as their backers. And the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion was one of the 6 forces. As a guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, Lei Xin had an extraordinary position in the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. He now ran nearly a third of the shops belonging to them. Su Ming's master is not just an expert at the peak of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, but also a guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. And Su Ming is protected by 2 Eternal Realm guards. We're also on Cercis Island, so I'd have a lot of trouble killing him. Jian Wushuang's eyes were narrowed, but he didn't look anxious at all. Well, I'll leave him alone for now. I'll go to the blood battle arena first and try to get a Cercis token. I have the privilege of killing people on this island only with a Cercis token. With this in mind, Jian Wushuang emptied his cup and then checked out before leaving the tavern. The blood battle arena was at the very center of Cercis Island and was situated underground. When Jian Wushuang arrived at the blood battle arena, the scene of madness before him took his breath away. Jian Wushuang had been to a similar place in the ancient world. He was a teenager at the time, and he had gone to the gladiator arena to participate in duels to get more spirit-cultivating pills. The gladiator arena also looked pretty crazy, but was nothing compared to the blood battle arena. The vast underground world had a radius of thousands of kilometers. There were numerous seats in which more than 1 million people sat, screaming wildly. But these people didn't even fill 1/10 of the seats in this underground world. There were 2 huge arenas in the middle of the underground world. A fierce battle was currently taking place in one. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, yes, fight. The exclamations, screams, and howls drowned out the fighting at the arena. That's really crazy. Jian Wushuang was shocked at the scene. He took a seat and watched the fight in the arena. The 2 fighters were clearly superior divine realm experts, and both were formidable. Chapter 799, 10 consecutive victories. Chapter 799, 10 consecutive victories. Bang! An almighty bang was suddenly heard issuing from the center of the arena. A fighter's lower limbs had burst open and blood was spurting out. The other fighter, a fierce man, laughed as he clenched his right hand and directed his punch towards his opponent's head. A faint roar akin to that of a savage beast could be heard as the wounded man's head was pulverized. There was no doubt that he was dead. The death did not silence the blood battle arena. Instead, it caused a greater uproar. The winner is Skull. Do you want to continue the challenge, Skull? Asked the host of the fight, who was an Eternal Realm expert. "Ha, of course," Skull replied after a bellow of laughter. His voice echoed through the arena. As soon as Skull had announced his decision, a superior divine realm expert arrived at the arena and tried to challenge him. Jian Wushuang continued to sit in the audience and watched their fight silently. He watched more than 10 fierce fights successively. Of the 13 men who were defeated in these fights, only 3 survived. The other 10 died on the arena. This was the brutality and madness of the blood battle arena. There were 2 kinds of blood battle arenas, one for divine realm experts, and the other for eternal realm experts. The fight between experts in the eternal realm took place only once every month, with at most a dozen duels each time. It was violent, but not crazy. However, the fight between the divine realm experts took place every day, and thus a large number of divine realm experts died every day. Even so, there was no stopping the madness. Cercis Island had many more experts in the divine realm than in the eternal realm. Their large number made them insignificant. These divine realm experts clearly know that the odds of death are very high, and that those who dare to fight in the blood battle arena are all superior divine realm experts. Still, they continue to challenge themselves. It's really, Jian Wushuang sighed inwardly. Divine realm experts who could obtain Cercis tokens would reap many benefits on Cercis Island. Other benefits aside, permanent residency on the island had great appeal in addition to the privilege of killing people. Furthermore, the Cercis token could be sold for an astronomical price. As the benefits were so attractive, the divine realm experts were willing to take risks. For me, there's no need to waste time watching the life-or-death duels between divine realm experts, Jian Wushuang muttered as he shook his head subtly. Then he walked to the arena and signed up for the fight. The frenzied fight continued on the arena. Jian Wushuang had no idea how many superior divine realm experts had appeared on the arena, but he had not seen anyone win 5 fights in a row. That was until a girl in a green dress appeared on the arena. The girl showed remarkable strength with a spear. She defeated 6 superior divine realm experts with ease. She is quite good. She must be close to the peak of the divine realm, Jian Wushuang speculated silently. At this point, the next challenger is Swordsman, the host shouted wildly. Oh! Jian Wushuang's eyebrows were arched, and he smiled as he appeared on the arena like a phantom. Immediately, the attention of the audience was directed at him. Ow, ow, ow. The frenzied howls from the audience continued. Jian Wushuang ignored the noise as he turned his eyes to the girl opposite him. Swordsman? Is that an alias? The girl looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes, replied Jian Wushuang. You seem confident. The girl smiled. Not bad. Be careful then. It's a life-or-death duel. I have no intention of killing you, but if I can't stop my attack, you can't blame me. With that, the girl began to attack Jian Wushuang. Swoosh! The long spear was thrusted straight at Jian Wushuang. As the spear moved, a series of strange-looking whirlpools appeared in the void. The speed of the spear was extraordinary. Good. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. At first glance, Jian Wushuang already knew that the girl had condensed her spear heart, which was already steady at level 1. Thus, her overall strength was comparable to that of the most powerful divine realm expert. Normally, it would not be difficult for her to win 10 consecutive battles to get a Cercis token. Unfortunately, she had run into Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang struck. It was a casual, ordinary blow. The girl was stunned by the movement, as she could not see its tracks at all. With a crash, the girl's long spear flew out of her hand. Blood gushed out from the new cut on her wrist. Jian Wushuang withdrew his sword and stood still. Thank you? The girl looked at Jian Wushuang gratefully. She retrieved her long spear and hurried off the arena. She was well aware that Jian Wushuang had gone easy on her. He's horrifying. I'm one of the most powerful divine realm experts, and can even fight an expert at step 1 of the eternal realm, but he defeated me with one blow. If he didn't show mercy, I'd be dead now. It's my first time seeing such a terrifying divine realm expert. She was still in shock even as she stepped off the arena. The audience had started to cheer when they saw Jian Wushuang defeat the girl with a single blow. Swordsman, swordsman. The audience chanted his name. The host asked, Swordsman, do you want to continue the challenge? Yes, of course, replied Jian Wushuang, smiling. Subsequently, several people challenged him. These challengers were very strong. Each of them was a superior divine realm expert. Some were almost as skillful as the strongest divine realm experts. But to Jian Wushuang, they were weak. One blow. As he had done with his first opponent, Jian Wushuang defeated the next 9 challengers with one blow. Unsurprisingly, he obtained 10 consecutive victories. Jian Wushuang was merciful and did not kill his opponents. Only one challenger had been killed because he had continued to fight despite being wounded by Jian Wushuang. Chapter 800, An Assassination. Chapter 800, An Assassination. After successively winning 10 fights, Jian Wushuang walked off the arena. Mr. Swordsman, here's your Cercis token. You can use it yourself, lend it to someone, or sell it. You may not obtain more than 1 token, said the host, an eternal realm expert. I see. Thank you, said Jian Wushuang as he took the token. He stained the token with a drop of his blood to mark his ownership before getting ready to leave. Swordsman, a voice behind him stopped him in his tracks. Jian Wushuang turned and saw the girl who had been his first opponent on the arena. She approached him with a smile on her face. Congratulations, she said. Yes. Jian Wushuang asked indifferently. I'm Lin Wan. I'm here to thank you for showing me mercy during the fight, explained the girl. I have nothing against you. I just wanted to get a Cercis token. There was no need to kill you, Jian Wushuang said coolly. He quickly took his leave to avoid entanglements with the girl. This guy is interesting. Lin Wan wasn't offended by Jian Wushuang's indifference. Instead, her curiosity about him grew. I thought it would be easy for me to get a Cercis token in the blood battle arena. I wasn't expecting him to defeat me so easily. My father was right. The eternal world has an abundant number of experts, and there are many hidden talents on Cercis Island, Lin Wan thought in amazement. Just then, 2 white-robed figures rushed forward anxiously. Miss, thank God we found you. Let's go back at once. His Excellency would be furious to know that you were in the blood battle arena. I just got here. Don't worry. I'll go back after getting a Cercis token. Lin Wan scowled. A Cercis token? The 2 white-robed figures exchanged shocked glances. One of them continued to persuade her. Miss, please don't be willful. The fights here are very cruel. If you get injured, we'll both be blamed for it. You may ask His Excellency for a Cercis token. You don't have to fight here. All right. Cut the crap. I'll go back, Lin Wan muttered, and followed the 2 white-robed men away from the blood battle arena. After leaving the blood battle arena, Jian Wushuang rented a mansion on the island and settled down before looking for chances to kill Su Ming. Soon, 3 days had passed. Jian Wushuang sat by the window on the 2nd floor of a restaurant. He was drinking and paying close attention to what was happening downstairs. He could clearly see Su Ming, who was protected by the two eternal realm experts. It has been 3 days. Su Ming has been staying in the block of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, and his two guards have not left his side. It'll be impossible for me to take action even after he leaves the block. The block of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion was filled with experts of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, including Lei Xin. If Jian Wushuang attacked Su Ming, those experts would retaliate immediately. It was risky for him to make his move, while Su Ming resided in the block. However, given the present situation, he had to take a risk. With the help of his master, Su Ming's strength has improved rapidly, and he has become a superior divine realm expert. Even so, if I do try to kill him, he won't have time to react. Jian Wushuang analyzed the situation. As for his two guards, they are only at step 1 of the Eternal Realm. My sudden attack will catch them off guard. I'll find an excellent opportunity, kill Su Ming with one blow, and leave immediately. Having made a decision, Jian Wushuang's expression lightened. In the last 3 days, he had assessed the strength of Su Ming and his two guards. With his strength, he had excellent chances of carrying out a successful assassination, and he would have time to escape. Jian Wushuang left the restaurant and edged closer to where Su Ming was. Jian Wushuang had completely restrained his aura so that he did not attract any attention. Su Ming did not notice him even as he drew within 50 m of him. I only have one chance. If I fail to kill him this time, he will be more careful and even stay with his master. If that happens, I won't be able to kill him, so I have to kill him now. Jian Wushuang said to himself. His eyes gleamed in anticipation. Now, he suddenly moved. His speed instantly reached its peak as he unsheathed the Emperor's sword. He crossed the distance of less than 50 meters in a flash and swung his sword at unprecedented speed. This move was called Twilight. A beautiful sword shadow emerged silently before Su Ming's throat. Jian Wushuang's sword heart reached its fullest power and trembled slightly in his sea of consciousness. He was not adept at assassination, but he knew how to find the perfect time to kill. At the perfect moment, he delivered the most unexpected blow with astonishing speed. That blow left his target no chance of survival. There was absolutely no way Su Ming could have avoided it. In the street, Su Ming was guarded by two Eternal Realm experts. He was deep in thought over what his master had told him and did not even notice the fatal blow approach him. The two guards did not notice anything amiss until the sword shadow appeared in front of Su Ming's throat. Crap! The two guards could not do anything as the sword shadow was too close. Clank! A low metal crash sounded, and Jian Wushuang's face immediately darkened. Unexpectedly, an energy shield had suddenly appeared around Su Ming at the critical moment and blocked Jian Wushuang's blow. The energy shield broke as it deflected the strike. The ring on Su Ming's finger also disintegrated. That ring was the life-saving item that Lei Xin had given Su Ming. It contained a layer of energy shield, which would automatically activate when Su Ming encountered a life crisis, but it would only work once. What? Su Ming finally realized what was happening. He raised his head and stared hard at Jian Wushuang, who had a murderous look on his face. Jian Wushuang. Su Ming let out a sharp cry of fear, and as he quickly backed away, he brought out his token to make contact with his master. Master, hurry up, save me. Jian Wushuang is trying to kill me. Chapter 801, The Assassination Attempt. Chapter 801, The Assassination Attempt. Damn it! Who would have guessed that Su Ming has such a life-saving item? Jian Wushuang swore angrily. Seeing his fatal blow deflected by the energy shield emerging from Su Ming's ring, Jian Wushuang turned pale, but did not give up. When Su Ming quickly backed away, he immediately chased after. But then Su Ming's 2 guards who were in the Eternal Realm tried to stop him. "You bastard, go to hell!" The 2 guards showed off their strength as experts at Step 1 of the Eternal Realm. One of them swung his saber straight at Jian Wushuang, the blade flashing like a gust of wind. The other one clenched his hands into 2 fists and hurtled at Jian Wushuang with the momentum of an avalanche. "Out of the way!" Jian Wushuang shouted. His eyes flickered with harsh light. His emperor's sword was swung horizontally, and when its power exploded, the sword flashed upward. All of this was done by Jian Wushuang in an instant. "What?" The guard wielding the saber opened his eyes in horror as the sword shadow that Jian Wushuang made shot through the gap of his saber straight at his neck. Swish! The sword shadow passed inexorably around the guard's neck, his head flying away. Besides, parts of the sword shadow's power entered his body and shattered his life core. Then the sword shadow was lifted up and turned to chop off the other guard's arm. The guard had no time to dodge, and his arm was completely cut apart. It took Jian Wushuang only a moment to get through the 2 guards. However, as the guard's sacrifice bought enough time for Su Ming to run away, and Jian Wushuang found that many people with a powerful aura rushed out of some of the surrounding shops, and not far away a patrol of the Cercis army also was heading to where he was. "If I don't go now, I won't be able to get away," he assessed the situation swiftly in his mind. He then cast a sharp glance at Su Ming before he turned and darted back toward the void. "Humph!" A cold snort suddenly echoed through the air. "Now that you're here, stay here," the voice continued. Then an old and strong figure enveloped in purple thunderbolts flew out of a shop and went straight after Jian Wushuang. He radiated infinite purple thunderbolts, making himself look like a master of thunder. "Master!" Su Ming called. He was overjoyed to see the man. "The Sect Master Lei Xin. That's too bad." Jian Wushuang's face hardened. According to the information he purchased, Lei Xin possessed the battle strength of an expert at the peak Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. Jian Wushuang was not quite sure he could handle him now. "I have to run away." He made a quick decision. He immediately launched the Dragon Blood secret skill to burn up his spiritual power. Although it was only the first move of the Dragon Blood secret skill, it increased his speed 10-fold, leaving the experts of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion unable to catch up with him. Lei Xin squinted and slapped the void where Jian Wushuang was across the air. With this stroke, a huge purple thunderbolt shot out at incredible speed and caught up with Jian Wushuang in a fraction of a second. "Huh!" Jian Wushuang paled at the sight of the purple thunderbolt. The blow hurtling towards him was to be reckoned with, although its power was diminished by its passage through such a distance in the void. Jian Wushuang grasped the Emperor's sword in his hand, turned suddenly, and arose his power to strike the thunderbolt with his sword. This was the most powerful secret skill Jian Wushuang had created. Bang! Jian Wushuang gave a groan of pain. A trickle of blood came streaming out of his mouth. Fortunately, the purple thunderbolt had been partially blocked, and with the shock of that purple thunderbolt, his speed was even faster. He darted out into the street ahead of him in the blink of an eye and quickly disappeared into the crowd. Buzz. In the void, many figures with a towering aura appeared. In a flash, dozens of experts poured out of this block of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. These experts were above Step 3 of the Eternal Realm, among which Lei Xin was the strongest. Surrounded by purple thunderbolts, Lei Xin looked down at the street where Jian Wushuang had disappeared. "He has run away," he said with a hard look on his face. Master, Elder Lei Xin, Su Ming and the guard, whose arm had been cut off by Jian Wushuang, appeared beside Lei Xin. Su Ming still looked scared. He clearly knew that he would have died without the life-saving item that he had received from his master. Lei Xin turned to Su Ming and asked, "Is that Jian Wushuang?" "Yes," Su Ming replied, nodding heavily, with unwillingness surging in his heart. Then he added, "He should have come to the eternal world later than I did. Thus he has only been in this world for about 100 years. I did not expect that he had become so strong." "He is indeed really strong," the guard said. Then he recounted their fight with Jian Wushuang. He attacked Master Su Ming all of a sudden. It was so fast that neither I nor Qian Yuan could react. Luckily, Master Su Ming had the life-saving item, and then I joined forces with Qian Yuan to try to stop him. But as a result, remembering everything, the guard could not help but think of the scene when he fought Jian Wushuang. Actually, their fight happened in a flash. It was a very frightening scene, and his swordsmanship is horrifying. In an instant, he killed Qian Yuan and cut off my arm, and that was with just one blow. Above all, he is just a divine realm expert. I have seen countless divine realm experts, but I have never seen such a terrifying expert as him. Lei Xion's eyes narrowed slightly at his words. Just now he had also attacked Jian Wushuang. He had been far away from Jian Wushuang at the time, and his attack, only a casual slap, but without powerful strength, a normal expert could not have taken it. Jian Wushuang, however, confronted his attack and handled it perfectly. It turns out that what Lei Yan has told me is more than mere exaggerations. There's something about that young man. Lei Xian muttered. Then he looked at the coming 100 sergeant squad of the Cercis army. "Someone just tried to assassinate my disciple. Didn't you Cercis army see that?" Lei Xian asked in a cold voice. The sergeants had finally arrived, but they had not searched the street where Jian Wushuang had disappeared, which made Lei Xian dissatisfied. "Yes, we did," the captain of the squad replied, looking directly at Lei Xian. "I sensed he had a Cercis token, so it's not against the rules for him to kill a person. As long as he doesn't overdo it, we won't stop him," the captain explained. "He has a Cercis token?" Lei Xian frowned. Chapter 802, to find him. Chapter 802, to find him. Humph, few experts have the Cercis token on Cercis Island. Jian Wushuang is from the ancient world and came here from the firmament territory. He is a total stranger on this island. He couldn't borrow or buy one. It must be because of his 10 consecutive victories in the blood battle arena, Lei Xian analyzed. With his strength, it's easy for him to win 10 fights in a row in the blood battle arena. Then he turned his furious eyes on an expert from the heavenly cloud pavilion beside him and demanded, "Go and find out who has won 10 fights in a row in the blood battle arena recently. You've got to find him anyway." "Yes," the expert replied, and immediately went to investigate what Lei Xian had asked for. As one of the 6 biggest forces on Cercis Island, the intelligence capability of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion was excellent, and it didn't take long for the results to be found. Swordsman who came to the blood battle arena 3 days ago. He defeated 10 superior divine realm experts in succession, one of whom possessed the battle strength close to the strongest divine realm expert, and he beat these experts with only 1 blow each. With such excellent swordsmanship, he must be Jian Wushuang. Then the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion found the mansion where Jian Wushuang had lived for the last 3 days. Lei Xian went to the mansion himself, but when he got there, Jian Wushuang had already gone. "He's so smart." Lei Xian stood dumbfounded where Jian Wushuang had been not too long ago, his eyes gleaming sharply. "Don't think I can't find you." Then he called, "Protector, you—" A black-robed man who followed him immediately came forward and replied, "Yes, Elder Lei Xin. Do you know the purpose of me calling you for this occasion?" Lei Xin asked while throwing the black-robed man a glance. "Yes, rest assured, Elder. The tenant had left the mansion, but there are many remnants of his auras here. These are enough for me to trace him with my secret skill. As long as he hasn't left Cercis Island, I'm sure I can find him," the black-robed man responded with confidence. In the eternal world, there was a myriad of experts as well as tons of kinds of secret skills. Protector, you was proficient in a very special secret skill for tracking. As long as a person left enough auras, he could use that secret skill to find out where the person was in a certain range. After a while, Protector, you came to a conclusion. "Elder Lei Xin, I've found out where he probably is. He's still on Cercis Island. Come with me," he said to Lei Xin. Then he led Lei Xin to a specific direction on the island. In an ordinary restaurant on the edge of the island, Jian Wushuang sat at a table wearing a silver wicked mask. He had also changed into a white robe, and even his longsword on his back was now a huge axe instead. His temperament had become extraordinarily aggressive and domineering. At first glance, he looked like a completely different person, and he was sure that Su Ming would not recognize him when they met again. Heavenly Cloud Pavilion is like an overlord on Cercis Island. With their power, they could find my mansion as easily as drinking water. In all likelihood, Lei Xin has taken his men to my rented mansion by now. Jian Wushuang speculated, and his face covered by the silver wicked mask was quite somber at the moment. "I miscalculated." Jian Wushuang gripped the cup. He had truly miscalculated. He had no idea that Su Ming was not only publicly guarded, but that he had a life-saving item on him, which worked automatically when he encountered a life-or-death crisis. That kind of life-saving item was priceless. It was the equivalent of giving its carrier an extra life. Lei Xin could only get one of such precious items, and this one really saved his disciple's life. After the assassination attempt, Su Ming will surely be more cautious. That will make it harder for me to kill him, Jian Wushuang thought, squinting. At this point, buzz. A band of mighty pressure suddenly came and covered the restaurant that Jian Wushuang was in. "What's going on?" Jian Wushuang wondered, looking up with a frown. He saw two men coming slowly out of the void, and the front man, completely covered by purple thunderbolts, was clearly Lei Xin. Jian Wushuang immediately realized that the mighty pressure that covered the whole restaurant emanated from Lei Xin. Behind him was a man in a black robe. The man looked at Jian Wushuang with blazing eyes and laughed. "Elder Lei Xin, that man is the one you're looking for." Lei Xin also turned his eyes on Jian Wushuang. Damn it! Jian Wushuang's face clouded at once. He was not expecting that Lei Xin could find him, even though he had deliberately disguised himself and changed his temperament. Heavenly Cloud Pavilion really has terrific means. Jian Wushuang sighed, helplessly. "Young man, do you think I can't find you just because you wear a mask?" Lei Xion's angry voice echoed through the air like thunder, and it carried a sound wave attack that came directly at Jian Wushuang. Knowing he was already exposed, Jian Wushuang no longer bothered hiding. With a move, he was already in the void, right in front of Lei Xin. His mask had been removed, and with the Emperor's sword in his hand, his temperament had returned to its former overwhelming sharpness. "You're worthy of being the guest elder of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. You have such a brilliant skill to keep finding me." Jian Wushuang sneered, without the slightest fear. "Humph, My skill is beyond the imagination of a brat like you, Lei Xin said in a stentorian voice. Cut the crap. Now that you dared to assassinate my disciple, you must die today. As these words were spoken, a purple stone staff materialized in Lei Xion's hand, which was circled around by a mess of purple thunderbolts. As Lei Xion swung it out, it struck at Jian Wushuang like a bolt. Rumbling, it looked as if the whole world was about to be split open by the attack. That strike carried so much power that it would frighten an expert at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm, not to mention a divine realm expert. Chapter 803, Lei Xion. Chapter 803, Lei Xion. You have used your full force on the first move, haven't you? Hee, Sect Master Lei Xion. You really look up to me. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, but he looked very grave. He found that Lei Xion was at the peak of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, and he was even more powerful than other experts in the Eternal Realm that Jian Wushuang had met. With a buzz of his bloodline power, Jian Wushuang's body grew at tremendous speed, and in a second he transformed into a 15-meter gold-armored ancient god. What's that? That person is so tall. Who is him? What a formidable aura! At the sight of Jian Wushuang's huge body, a large number of warriors around started looking concerned. The ancient gods were not rare in the firmament territory, and thus the experts there would not be surprised to see someone turn into one. However, far from the firmament territory, Cercis Island had no eternal zone. No one present had ever seen or even heard of the ancient gods, so they were certainly shocked to see a gold-armored ancient god for the first time. Standing in the void, that golden giant emitted an overbearing aura. His cold eyes cast dark golden lights and shot violently at Lei Xion. The next moment his emperor's sword, which had also grown and was 10 meters in length, was swung out with an echo. The first move of the Boundless Heaven sword art, the Annihilation sword move. Jian Wushuang also went all out on his first move, and the power of his sword heart reached its perfection. Two terrible attacks hit each other in a split second. Boom! A slight space rift appeared in the void where the collision occurred. In the eternal world, one could never cause a space rift in the void without the battle strength of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. After that blow, Jian Wushuang's giant body instantly turned into a flash of light and shot quickly back, smashing down several buildings before stopping. As an expert at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, Lei Xion really is powerful. I tried my best to launch the Annihilation Sword move, but I was still outclassed by him. Jian Wushuang said to himself, his eyes held dark golden lights reflecting his shock. Fortunately, not long ago I have cultivated the Star River secret skill to level 12, making my overall strength improve quite a lot. Otherwise, his blow would have hurt me badly. It took Jian Wushuang 37 years to get to Cercis Island from the Firmament territory. 37 years may be a very short amount of time for a man who had lived a long time, but it was very long for Jian Wushuang, who had been born less than 200 years ago. His battle strength had been at the top of Step 4 of the Eternal Realm before he had left the Firmament territory. During those 37 years, he kept fighting to temper himself in the gray zone, and thus he had made great progress. His swordsmanship was obviously much more remarkable, and his sword heart had reached the peak of level 2, very close to level 3. Actually, Jian Wushuang thought that he could break through to level 3 at any moment. Additionally, some of his secret skills had also improved significantly. For example, he had just crossed the threshold of the secret skill of the mind controlling and the Scarlet Eye before, while now he had a much higher mastery of them. His Star River secret skill had only reached level 11 with a power amplitude of 33 times, but now It was at level 12 with the power amplitude of 36 times, 3 more times than before. Naturally, he was now capable of greater power. Combined with the innate superiority of the gold-armored ancient god and the boundless heaven sword art, Jian Wushuang estimated that his battle strength had barely reached the threshold of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. His battle strength was already mighty. Unfortunately, his opponent now was Lei Xin, a real expert at the peak of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. The gap between them was certainly large. In terms of strength, I'm no match for Lei Xin, but I am very capable of fighting in close quarters and skilled in swordsmanship. With these two advantages, I can definitely contend against him, and even killed him in a frontal attack. Jian Wushuang contemplated his chances, his eyes full of battle intent. The next moment, the 15-meter gold-armored ancient god rushed out, straight toward Lei Xin. "You're dooming yourself," Lei Xin shouted, holding his purple stone staff to meet Jian Wushuang head-on immediately. As he waved the purple stone staff at random, a huge thunder dragon popped up. In a twinkling, they got close to each other and started fighting. It was clear that Jian Wushuang was the underdog, and at times he was even completely subdued by Lei Xin. Still, Jian Wushuang had no intention of running away. In the 37 years I wandered around different places, I've met some powerful experts, but very few of them had ever needed me to fight with all my might. After being bored for so long, I finally meet a formidable opponent. It will be a pity if I don't go all out to fight him, Jian Wushuang yelled in his heart. As an ancient god, he was inherently bellicose. It was rare to meet such a particularly powerful opponent. He surely would not miss such a chance of fight. Moreover, he was not worried at all about being killed by Lei Xin. The body of the gold-armored ancient god was tougher than one could imagine, and thus he would not be killed that easily. What was more, he had so many trump cards at his disposal that he actually did not need to fear Lei Xin. Boom, 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 boom. Loud sounds reverberated throughout the world. On the battlefield, the vast spiritual power was scattered everywhere. Many of the surrounding buildings collapsed, and the ground was potholed. It was a terrible sight, but the fight still showed no sign of stopping. Instead, it intensified, reaching a fever pitch. Suddenly, stop! A deep shout sounded like a thunderbolt between heaven and earth all of a sudden. Then, a group of sergeants in purple armor rushed towards the battlefield at astonishing speed. Several of these sergeants held such an overwhelming aura that Lei Xin had to take them seriously. The Cercis army, Jian Wushuang, and Lei Xin both looked a little embarrassed. Then they stopped and retreated a few steps. When they were on their feet, Lei Xin was in good condition with his aura strong, while Jian Wushuang cut a sorry figure, but his battle intent was exceedingly strong. "What are you doing?" That group of sergeants of the Cercis army arrived in the middle of the battlefield. Their leader was a handsome, indifferent young man who carried a saber behind him. As soon as he arrived on the battlefield, he looked around, and as his eyes swept over Jian Wushuang, a strange light flashed through his eyes, but he hid it in an instant. At the sight of this man, Jian Wushuang also tried to pretend, but still a small gleam of surprise flashed in his eyes for a second. Actually, he was full of overjoy. "It's him." Chapter 804, Commander Yang. Chapter 804, Commander Yang. Both Jian Wushuang and the indifferent man with the saber had recognized each other, but kept their faces impassive. "Elder Lei Xin, you're getting so bent out of shape," the man said while casting Lei Xin a quick glance. "Oh, it's you, Commander Yang of the Cercis army." Lei Xin looked at him and heavily said, "Jian Wushuang tried to assassinate my disciple, and I'm going to kill him, shouldn't I? Besides, I've won 10 consecutive victories in the blood battle arena and got a Cercis token. I'm not breaking the rules, am I? You both have Cercis tokens and have the privilege of fighting on Cercis Island. It would have been all right if you two had just fought with each other, but your fight caused a huge stir and even destroyed most of the surrounding streets. I couldn't just turn a blind eye to this, Commander Yang said. Lei Xin frowned at his words and looked all around. As the commander said, they had caused quite a scene, not only attracting a large number of experts, but also destroying more than half of the surrounding streets, with the ground full of potholes. Long story short, the vicinity of the battlefield was horrible. Then Commander Yang continued, if you really want to fight it out or have a life-death duel, you can go straight to the blood battle arena. That's the place for you. Blood battle arena? Humph, do you think he would dare to go to the blood battle arena with me? Lei Xin questioned him while looking at Jian Wushuang coldly. That's your business, but if you're going to continue with this unbridled fight, I have to do something about it. Commander Yang warned. Lei Xion's face instantly fell. They were on Cercis Island, where the Cercis army had great power. Although he was the guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, even the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion could not help him if he really offended the Cercis army openly. And he found that Jian Wushuang was not weak at all. He is only a divine realm expert, but in a real fight, I cannot beat him with ease. He is also confident in himself. He dared to meet me head-on and didn't even try to run away. If he had tried to escape, I probably wouldn't have killed him even if the Cercis army hadn't stopped us. Lei Xin speculated inwardly. Then he clenched his hand tightly and said, Commander Yang, for the sake of you and the Cercis army, I'll stop today. Then he turned to Jian Wushuang. But it won't end like this. You are lucky today, but you won't be so lucky next time. He whispered the threat, glaring directly at Jian Wushuang. As these words were spoken, Lei Xin threw his sleeve and turned straight away. Seeing Lei Xin leave, Commander Yang turned his eyes on Jian Wushuang and said, Come with me. You have to account for destroying so many things. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders, but followed him with great cooperation. As they all left, the surrounding streets became quiet again. In the dark secret chamber of a rather vast mansion on Cercis Island, Jian Wushuang sat quietly at a table, while Commander Yang, who had brought him there, stood while looking at him. Suddenly, Commander Yang turned over his hand, took out a pot of wine, and handed it to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang uncorked it and sniffed it. It smells good. What kind of wine is it? He asked. It's demon nectar, the best quality. Just this pot in the market is worth 2 million divine gems, and it has a price but no sales. I got 2 pots by chance. Usually I don't drink it, Commander Yang said. Ha! You are a commander of the Cercis army, and also have a good wine, worth 2 million divine gems. We parted for many years. Now you're really impressive, second brother. Jian Wushuang laughed. Commander Yang was one of his sworn brothers from the ancient world, his second brother Yang Zishuan. He was the personal disciple of Emperor Shao. When Jian Wushuang left the ancient world, Yang Zishuan was still with Emperor Shao. Now more than 100 years had passed, and he had not expected to see his sworn brother on Cercis Island. Moreover, now both his status and strength were extraordinary. A commander of the Cercis army. As far as I know, in the Cercis army, the captains of the 10-sergeant squad are experts in the eternal realm, and the captains of the 100-sergeant squad are experts at step 3 or 4 of the eternal realm. As for commanders, they are in charge of 500 sergeants, at least at step 5 of the eternal realm. Jian Wushuang stated his analysis. Tut, Tut, second brother, it's only been more than 100 years, and you've made amazing progress, he said, full of admiration. Jian Wushuang could see that Yang Zishuan had broken through to the Eternal Realm, and that, as a commander of the Cercis army, he must be very powerful, at least as powerful as him. I can't compare with you. Yang Zishuan shook his head and said, You went to the Eternal World alone to attend the Firmament Territory Feast, and grew to the present step by yourself. But unlike you, I have made such great progress largely because of my master. Then he gave a rough account of his experience. After you left the ancient world, my master took me to a very strange place, where I got a very precious and important inheritance. Thanks to this inheritance and the many opportunities my master prepared for me, I got to this point and became the commander of the Cercis army only a short time ago. Yang Zishuan's voice was flat as he spoke these words. Generally speaking, people would hide great opportunities like getting an inheritance in the bottom of their hearts and would not tell others so easily like Yang Zishuan just had done. The reason why Yang Zishuan told Jian Wushuang this without scruple was that he regarded Jian Wushuang as his good brother. Good brothers could share almost everything. You're still pretty impressive, Jian Wushuang said, smiling and rejoiced at Yang Zishuan's great opportunity. By the way, why are you alone? Where's our big brother Wang Yuan? Didn't he come to the Eternal World with you? He asked. Their fourth sister, Su Ro, left the ancient world a long time ago and should be in the Eternal World, too. After her, Jian Wushuang set out alone to the Firmament Territory for the Firmament Territory Feast. The reason that Yang Zishuan and Wang Yuan came to the Eternal World was special. Their trip here had been arranged by Emperor Shao. Our big brother Wang Yuan came to the Eternal World with me, but he's now not on Cercis Island, but in the Tang of the East. Are you passing by Cercis Island on your way to the Tang of the East? Yang Zishuan asked. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. He was only temporarily staying on this island, and his real destination was indeed the Tang of the East. Chapter 805, Level 3. Chapter 805, Level 3. That's it. Yang Zishuan nodded. Then he added, You'll see our big brother Wang Yuan when you get to the Tang of the East. He's the chief alchemist there now. He's a lot better than the two of us. The chief alchemist of the Tang of the East. Jian Wushuang's eyes flew open in surprise. He had known Wang Yuan had great talent in alchemy, but he was not expecting him to be so incredible. He actually has become the chief alchemist of the Tang of the East in such a short time. Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart with astonishment. Oh, third brother, why did you get into a fight with Lei Xin of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion? He seemed to be dying to kill you, Yang Zishuan asked curiously. Lei Xin's disciple is an enemy whom I had tried every means to kill in the ancient world. Today I have tried in vain to assassinate him, and Lei Xin found me in some way I didn't know, so there you go, Jian Wushuang replied. The enemy of the ancient world. You haven't killed him yet. Yang Zishuan frowned. He's too lucky. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. If Su Ming hadn't brought a life-saving item with him today, Jian Wushuang would have already killed him. Lei Xin is not only powerful, but also a guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion with great power. Besides, he's extremely difficult to get rid of. It's not a good thing to be targeted by him. Third brother, be careful. Yang Zishuan reminded him. Got it, Jian Wushuang replied. He did not despise Lei Xin at all. By the way, is this mansion yours? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, as a commander of the Cercis army, I have an independent mansion just for me, Yang Zishuan answered. Then it should be safe here. Lei Xin wouldn't dare break in, would he? Jian Wushuang continued. Of course, no matter how bold he is, he would never try to break into the mansion of a commander of the Cercis army, Yang Zishuan said with confidence. Good. Jian Wushuang nodded again and smiled. Second brother, please get me a secret chamber. I want to have closed-door cultivation for a few days. Have closed-door cultivation? Yang Zishuan was a little dumbfounded. I have a bottleneck, and I am on the edge of a breakthrough. I learned something from the fierce battle with Lei Xin just now. I only need to cultivate quietly for a few days, then I can break through this bottleneck and make a huge improvement in strength. By then I could contend with Lei Xin. Jian Wushuang said seriously. Oh, I see. Yang Zishuan understood and nodded. I'll get everything ready for you, at once then. After he prepared everything Jian Wushuang asked for, Jian Wushuang immediately went in and began to cultivate. He had indeed learned a great deal from his battle with Lei Xin, even if it had not lasted too long. Long ago, his sword heart had reached the top of level 2, only one step away from level 3. He already felt that he could break through to level 3, and through the battle with Lei Xin, he had found the opportunity. Jian Wushuang sat quietly cross-legged in a secret chamber with his eyes closed and surrounded by layers of shocking sword essence. The sword essence was extremely profound and complex. Some were wanton, some fierce and domineering, and some others introverted and plain. In the end, these layers of sword essence fully integrated. The unification sword. No matter how different the sword essence was, the essence was still the same. After all, a sword was a sword. The sword essence was the sword essence. My sword heart is going to reach level 3. Jian Wushuang abruptly opened his eyes, and a sharp sword light shot out of them. In his sea of consciousness, the extremely formidable sword heart began to change. In a moment, the metamorphosis was over. Now his sword heart had broken through to level 3, and his overall strength had also made a qualitative leap. His sword heart was now 10 times stronger. At the same time, his swordsmanship attainments would reach a new height. All in all, his power had shot up. When I fought with Lei Xin, my sword heart was only at the top of level 2. I was completely suppressed by him, and could only rely on my swordsmanship along with the tough body of the ancient god to barely contend with him. Now, with my sword heart breakthrough, my strength has soared. I don't have to be afraid of him ever again if I fight him head-on. Jian Wushuang contemplated this happily, clenching his hands. He spent 3 days in the closed-door cultivation. When he walked out after the breakthrough, Yang Zishuan immediately came to him. How is it, third brother? Yang Zishuan demanded with concern. It went smoothly. No obstacles. Jian Wushuang answered with a broad smile on his face. So, are you confident you can beat Lei Xin? Yang Zishuan looked at him closely. Yes, I'll go this evening. Jian Wushuang said confidently, with his eyes flashing sharp light. This evening. Yang Zishuan's mouth lifted. He then went on. Do you need any help? No, thank you, second brother. It's easy for me to beat Lei Xin now. I won't stand on ceremony if I need your help. Jian Wushuang smiled. Yang Zishuan shrugged his shoulders and said nothing more. He was cold by nature, only slightly warmer to Jian Wushuang, Wang Yuan, and Su Rou. He didn't care about other people at all. Jian Wushuang soon set off to go to Lei Xin alone. The bright moon climbed high in the sky. Ablaze with lights, Cercis Island was still bustling. There were still a lot of people on the block of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. Jian Wushuang, dressed in a black robe, could see the situation of that block clearly. As I guessed, Su Ming has become more cautious after the last assassination attempt. Previously, he did not leave the block of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, but would walk around the block. However, now he spends all day with his master in that shop. As soon as I get close to that shop, his master will probably notice. Jian Wushuang hid in the void with the information he had collected. He is so careful. It is a lot harder for me to kill him now. I have to lure him away. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and quickly came up with a plan. Whoosh! With a move of his thought, a man suddenly appeared beside him. It was his slaughter body. In order to kill Su Ming, he would have to act in tandem with his slaughter body. Then he began to take action. His world body held the Emperor's sword and flew away quietly while his slaughter body remained where he was carefully hidden. Chapter 806, Suppression. Chapter 806, Suppression. Inside the shop, Lei Yun sat quietly next to a mysterious elder in a black robe. This mysterious elder had a peculiar aura, as if he was not there at all. As for Su Ming, he sat at the bottom with some constraint. Jian Wushuang and my disciple are sworn enemies. Although he failed to assassinate my disciple last time, he will never give up. With his temper, he will find a way to carry out assassination again. My disciple will just stay here for the time being. If Jian Wushuang comes, please help us, Mr. Wu, Lei Yun said, looking at that mysterious elder. Rest assured, Elder Lei, I'll keep my promise. What's more, we are both in Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. We should help each other. That elder smiled. All of a sudden, he looked up with a brow arched and said, He has come. So soon. Lei Xian's face lit up with pleasure, while Su Ming felt nervous inside. Lei Xian asked the mysterious elder, Mr. Wu, for help not only because he was formidable, but also because his psychic ability was extraordinary. Neither Lei Xian nor Su Ming noticed Jian Wushuang's approach, but Mr. Wu did. Oh, this boy is very careful. Instead of rushing closer, he lingered nearby. Mr. Wu laughed. Lei Xian looked closely at him. After a moment, Mr. Wu's eyebrows furrowed slightly. He has lingered for so long, it seems that he has no intention of taking action. He just wants to make sure whether your disciple is in this shop. He said, He has no intention of taking action. Lei Xian repeated Mr. Wu's words with a nod. Knowing I'm here, it would have been odd if Jian Wushuang had acted without scruple, he thought. Mr. Wu's brows suddenly rose in surprise. What's going on? Lei Xian asked anxiously at once. He seems to have given up. He is ready to leave. Mr. Wu laughed. Leave. Lei Xian's face became hard. Humph, now that he has come on his own initiative, how could I let him leave? He said coldly. Mr. Wu, please join me to kill him. Lei Xian let out a low shout. Then a mighty air rose violently from him, and he instantly turned into a purple thunderbolt, flying out of the shop. At the same moment that Lei Xian moved, the black-robed Mr. Wu smiled faintly before darting out. Both men took action simultaneously, and Su Ming was left alone in the shop. Boom, boom. Two gales of terrifying auras suddenly burst out like a bright beacon in the night. Wandering around the shop, Jian Wushuang noticed them immediately. Damn it, I'm exposed. Jian Wushuang looked a little worried and then darted straight into a dark void in the distance without hesitation. Young man, you want to run away? I won't give you any more chances to escape, Lei Xian roared. Having nailed his eyes on Jian Wushuang, he pursued Jian Wushuang together with Mr. Wu. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures, one running ahead and 2 chasing after. They were moving so fast that they disappeared into the night sky soon after. Witnessing Lei Xin and Mr. Wu disappear from sight, Jian Wushuang's slaughter body, who had been hiding in another void, revealed a cold smile on his face. The next moment, a 7-feet scarlet sword, like a sea of blood, appeared in his hand. It was the Blood Mountain sword that Jian Wushuang's master had given him. Buzz! Jian Wushuang's bloodline power burst forth. Seconds later, his slaughter body turned into a 15-meter gold-armored ancient god. The gold-armored ancient god held the Blood Mountain sword, which was 12 meters now, in one hand. His ice-cold eyes exuded endless rage and stared at the shop where Su Ming was. Su Ming, no one can save you this time. Jian Wushuang howled in a deep voice. Then he made a great leap, and his giant body appeared before the shop. He brandished his long sword and cut mercilessly across the shop. A huge sword shadow emerged, like another bright moon in the night, and was incomparably dazzling. Swish! The sword light erupted into raging power and shattered the whole shop directly. Su Ming and some experts of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion in the shop turned pale at the sudden attack. They sprang out into the nearby void, but upon reaching the void, they saw a giant gold-armored ancient god with a terrifying aura in front of them. The size and aura of this gold-armored ancient god were so overwhelming that at the first sight of it, those experts felt terrified. It's Jian Wushuang. Su Ming stared fixedly at the gold-armored ancient god, who was also glaring fiercely at him. No, this couldn't be. You are clearly being pursued by my master and Mr. Wu. How could you possibly be here? How could this be? Su Ming was completely lost. Jian Wushuang was too lazy to explain and gave him a snort of contempt. Then he raised his Blood Mountain sword and struck at Su Ming. The horrifying sword essence covered Su Ming in an instant. As a superior divine realm expert, he was powerless to resist Jian Wushuang's attack. No, don't kill me. Su Ming was horrified and frantically growled and shouted. The fear of death was all that remained in his mind at this point. He didn't want to die. Humph, kill you? Rest assured, I won't kill you. Not only will I not kill you, I will do everything I can to make you live longer. I'll make you live for 10,000 years, 100,000 years, or even 1,000,000 years. Now that you're in my hands, I will let you know how lucky it will be to be dead. Jian Wushuang had a ferocious look on his face. The Blood Mountain sword he had swung at Su Ming abruptly changed. It was a huge, scarlet sword of killing, like a boundless sea of blood, but the next moment, it transformed into a giant towering mountain. That mountain came down from the sky and came straight at Su Ming. Sword Mountain, Suppression. With a flash of light in Jian Wushuang's eyes, he launched the secret skill of suppression attached to Blood Mountain sword. Buzz! A black hole suddenly appeared in the bottom of the giant mountain, and mysterious cracks from the black hole swept out, blocking the sky and the sun, instantly forming a great spell formation. Su Ming was completely trapped in the spell formation and was horrified to find that he could not move at all. He watched helplessly as the spell formation shrank, and so did himself. In the end, both the spell formation and he were completely engulfed by the black hole. Chapter 807, An Eternal Realm Puppet Fighter. Chapter 807, An Eternal Realm Puppet Fighter. In fact, from smashing the shop to suppressing Su Ming, Jian Wushuang had done all these in a split second. He acted so quickly that the surrounding experts of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion had no time to react, but Su Ming had already been suppressed. After all these, Jian Wushuang waved his hand slightly. The giant towering mountain began to shrink and return to his hand, instantaneously turning into a scarlet sword. Now that my purpose has been achieved, I'm leaving. Jian Wushuang grinned. Then he immediately turned and flew away. These experts certainly would not allow him to leave. However, Jian Wushuang, who had turned into an ancient god, was as formidable as Lei Xin. The strong experts in the streets of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion were only at step 3 or 4 of the Eternal Realm. Even if they joined hands, they could not stop him. In the end, Jian Wushuang's slaughter body calmly left. At this time, Lei Xin and Mr. Wu were still in pursuit of his world body. His world body fled all the way and finally left Cercis Island to the endless waters outside the island. Humph, he's courting death. Lei Xion's complexion was cold. If he stays on Cercis Island, I'll still have some scruples because of the Cercis army. Now that he has left the island, where there is neither shelter nor restraint, I will kill him in whichever way I want. Don't drop your guard. Mr. Wu turned to Lei Xin and reminded him, from his previous actions, he is wise enough to know that to leave Cercis Island is to lose his refuge. Now that he has left the island, maybe he has a plan or even set a trap to get us here on purpose. A trap, Lei Xin said in disdain. He has just come here from the Firmament territory and does not know anyone here. What kind of trap could he have? Unless... His face abruptly changed. He thought of a possibility. This had been a trick to lure the tiger from the mountain. Damn it, Lei Xin cursed. He quickly took out his message token and wanted to inquire about the situation in the shop. At this moment, Jian Wushuang, who had been scurrying ahead, suddenly stopped and turned to look at Lei Xin. You two chased me out for so long and even out of Cercis Island. Aren't you tired? Jian Wushuang smiled, looking emboldened. This scene made Lei Xin and Mr. Wu look worse. By this time, Lei Xin had received news about the situation in the shop and discovered that Su Ming had been suppressed and taken away. Is it a doppelganger? You've actually cultivated the doppelganger secret skill. Lei Xin cried, shooting Jian Wushuang a frosty look. He knew it was Jian Wushuang who had taken his disciple away from the shop, and now there was another Jian Wushuang in front of them. To have two bodies concurrently. Obviously, Jian Wushuang had cultivated the doppelganger secret skill. Haha, it's too late for you to know now. Jian Wushuang's mouth curved into a smile. Your disciple has fallen into my hands. He can't live. Humph, if my disciple is dead, then you'll have to go down with him. Lei Xin snarled. Go down with him? Really? Jian Wushuang sneered and pointed his emperor's sword at him from afar. Lei Xin, I know you want to kill me, so I'll give you a chance. The Cercis army interrupted our fight earlier. Now let's fight again. Haha, that's ridiculous. I have Mr. Wu to help me. Do I really need to fight one-on-one with you? Lei Xin sniffed. Mr. Wu. Jian Wushuang looked over at the old man shrouded in the black robe beside Lei Xin. Then he said, Well, you're only from the Eternal Realm. Which step have you reached? If an Eternal Realm expert did not exert his power, no one else could tell by the mere appearance of his aura which step he had reached, not even Jian Wushuang. I'm a worthless old man. I'm only at the peak of step 5, just like Elder Lei Xin. Mr. Wu said bluntly. 2 experts at the peak of step 5. Jian Wushuang's brows arched. He had thought that Lei Xin was his only opponent. So Mr. Wu's appearance was totally unexpected, but he could still deal with him. Mr. Wu, I want to fight Lei Xin alone today, so you stay out of our fight, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Then he waved his hand, and a strong figure of 3 meters high appeared in the void. The burly figure looked indifferent without any emotion, and its eyes were abnormally cold. It's a puppet fighter. The complexions of Lei Xin and Mr. Wu changed. They could see from a glance that it was a puppet fighter of a high rank. Actually, that puppet fighter was a present given to Jian Wushuang by his second senior brother Purple Mountain during their first meeting. Initially, Purple Mountain said that if the puppet fighter exerted all his strength at the cost of millions of divine gems, he was equivalent to that of an expert at the peak of Step 6 of the Eternal Realm. The puppet fighter was one of Jian Wushuang's trump cards. It was the first time he had taken it out in front of others. Second senior brother said that although this puppet fighter is powerful, it consumes incredibly large amounts of divine gems. I have some divine gems, but I cannot afford to waste them. Jian Wushuang reflected for a while before he pointed to Mr. Wu and ordered the puppet fighter, "Hold him. Don't let him interfere with my fight." Yes. The 3-meter-high puppet fighter nodded dully, and then darted out. He passed the void like a flash of thunder and appeared in front of Mr. Wu. Then his right hand clenched into a fist, gathering a terrifying force, and bombarded Mr. Wu. An interspatial ring was worn on a finger of the puppet fighter's right hand, of which there were tens of millions of divine gems. It was all the divine gems Jian Wushuang had collected. As he attacked Mr. Wu with his fist, hundreds of thousands of divine gems in the interspatial ring immediately turned into dust. This was when Jian Wushuang deliberately asked him not to play to his full strength. If he did his best, a single blow would cost millions of divine gems, and of course, it would generate more power. Boom! With this blow, several space rifts immediately spread out in the void. The alarming power had turned Mr. Wu pale, and the next moment he took out a black sickle. He wielded the sickle and swung out, carrying powerful knife essence, which collided with the puppet fighter's blow. Bang! There was a loud noise. Mr. Wu was smashed and flew out. Nonetheless, the puppet fighter's power did not decrease at all, and he aggressively pursued Mr. Wu. He soon overtook Mr. Wu, and it was clear that he had the upper hand. Mr. Wu was completely subdued and had no chance to fight back. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly at their fight. Afterwards, he turned his eyes on Lei Xin again. "Now it's just the two of us left." Chapter 808, Fighting Against Lei Xin Again. Chapter 808, Fighting Against Lei Xin Again. "You're just a divine realm expert. How do you have such a mighty puppet fighter?" Lei Xin cast a glance at the puppet fighter, which was at war with Mr. Wu, a gleam of eagerness flashing over his eyes. Puppet fighters were expensive. The value of such a powerful puppet fighter was boundless. Even he was not qualified to own one like this. "Lei Xin, if you want this puppet fighter, then kill me. As long as you kill me, he's yours." Jian Wushuang provoked Lei Xin. "That makes sense." Lei Xin slightly nodded. "Now that you're courting death, I'll help you." His purple stone staff emerged in his hand, wrapped by thunderbolts, with the sound of thunder piercing the void. The void in front of Jian Wushuang was broken open, and Lei Xin suddenly appeared. When he showed up, Lei Xin clenched his long staff in both hands and swung out angrily at Jian Wushuang. "Thunder howl!" After a deep howl, there was the sound of thunderbolt rushing through the void. Jian Wushuang then saw before him a vast web of thunderbolts. As the vast web was raging, a great power erupted from it and covered Jian Wushuang. As Lei Xin moved, Jian Wushuang had activated his bloodline power and turned into a 15-meter gold-armored ancient god, holding the enlarged emperor sword of 10 meters long. At the sight of the vast web of thunderbolts, Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with fierce dark golden lights. Break! Along with a deep shout, Emperor Sword was wielded directly, bursting forth level 3 power of the Sword Heart. This strike was combined with level 12 power magnitude of the Star River secret skill and the great advantage of a gold-armored ancient god's innate strength. Jian Wushuang had put all his power into the strike. Splash! The sword light cut inexorably at the vast web of purple thunderbolts, making a large gash in its center, which caused endless thunderbolts to collapse and dissipate. Humph! Jian Wushuang sneered, and brandished the Emperor's sword again. It was the first move of the boundless heaven sword art, the Annihilation sword move. It was a fierce, overwhelming blow, as though it had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Lei Xin turned around and waved his purple stone staff at the same time. Immediately, countless staff shadows appeared in the void. These shadows overlapped to form a powerful blow. After a humming sound through the void, the stone staff collided with Jian Wushuang's Emperor Sword. Clang! There was a loud noise. The huge aftermath of the collision swept away immediately. Boom! The water level below them instantly dropped by hundreds of feet, exposing many holes around which set off huge waves. Young man, it's only been a few days, but your strength seems to have improved a lot. No wonder you dare to challenge me head-on, Lei Xin said, staring at Jian Wushuang steely. Through this fight, he found Jian Wushuang much more powerful than he had been 3 days ago. Hee, if I am not powerful enough, how dare I fight against you, an expert at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm head-on? Jian Wushuang went on in a sarcastic tone. He then moved his wrist in a flash, swinging out the Emperor's sword with great agility. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In a twinkling of an eye, Jian Wushuang had thrust out his sword dozens of times. Each strike was as fast as lightning and could easily kill an average expert at Step 1 or 2 of the Eternal Realm. Lei Xin was flooded with dozens of sword shadows, making him feel like he had fallen into a sea of swords. As an expert at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, Lei Xion's staff heart had long reached level 5, much higher than Jian Wushuang's sword heart at level 3. Perhaps he was not so good at close combat as Jian Wushuang was, but he was no worse at understanding his weapon than Jian Wushuang was. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Lei Xin moved swiftly, and at the same time, he swung the stone staff in a quick and agile way. Whether it was chopping, stabbing, or sweeping, every move was flexible and smooth. Bang, bang, bang. Awful deafening roars echoed across the sea one after another. The whole sea below had been turned upside down by the fierce battle between both men. Lei Xin, is that all your strength? Jian Wushuang shouted in a deep voice, his dark golden eyes glaring at Lei Xin. You bastard. Lei Xion's face looked a little ugly. He did not expect that he would be looked down upon by a divine realm expert. He is much stronger than he was a few days ago. During the last fight, I could crush him completely, even though I couldn't kill him. Now, not only am I not in the upper hand, but I'm also losing, Lei Xin thought sullenly. An expert at the peak of Step 5 in the Eternal Realm unexpectedly can't win any upper hand in a fight with a divine realm expert. It was an absolute great shame. Young man, go to hell. Lei Xin let out a roar. The next moment, his aura suddenly raged, and clusters of vast purple thunderbolts also burst out, filling the entire battlefield. 9 Heaven Thunder. Lei Xion's face became distorted, and the purple stone staff in his hand suddenly swelled to a height of 30 feet. Boom! A great thunder suddenly descended from the sky, and the purple stone staff in Lei Xion's hand seemed to initiate it. The purple stone staff guided this huge thunder, and then hurled at Jian Wushuang. Swash! The vast purple thunderbolt flowed through the void, causing space rifts to appear one after another. It was Lei Xion's ultimate skill, the Nine-Heaven Thunder. He had absolute confidence in this move. As the purple thunderbolt came to Jian Wushuang with overwhelming power, his pupils shrank. He dared not underestimate it. In the void, he, of 15 meters tall, suddenly raised his emperor's sword high. As the sword was raised, the sword essence that burst out of Jian Wushuang was unstoppable, overwhelming, and fully converging on the sword blade. Jian Wushuang's breathing became gentle, and the vast spiritual power and forces that burst out from him were completely gathered in the emperor's sword at this moment. The third move of the Boundless Heaven sword art, the Red Shade sword move. Jian Wushuang suddenly launched another move. Boom! As Jian Wushuang waved his sword, a huge hazy sword shadow cut out. For a moment, the world was in dead silence. Then, two terrifying powers collided head-on. Bang! There was a tremendous rumbling sound like the sky and earth was falling apart. After the roar sounded, two figures shot back towards the rear at an alarming speed simultaneously. Jian Wushuang's tall body retreated hundreds of feet, while Lei Xian was obviously in a worse situation. Jian Wushuang only retreated with his blood surging, while Lei Xian was shaken, his mouth spilling blood. He looked pale, and his aura was weaker than before. Chapter 809, Blood Mountain Sword's Power. Chapter 809, Blood Mountain Sword's Power. No, how could this be? Lei Xian, I'm an expert at the peak of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, and he's just a Divine Realm expert, but how come I can't beat him? Lei Xian wiped the blood from his mouth and glared in disbelief at Jian Wushuang in the distance. By this time, Jian Wushuang had calmed the blood in his body and appeared in front of Lei Xian again. Ha! Lei Xian, you're not all that powerful, are you? Jian Wushuang gave him a wry smile. Humph, I admit that you are much stronger than I thought. I can't kill you alone. Nevertheless, don't get cocky. There are countless experts in this world, and even on Cercis Island, many experts are stronger than you and can kill you easily. With my identity, I can easily pay a price and ask some experts to kill you, Lei Xian threatened in a freezing voice. Oh, really? Jian Wushuang gave a non-committal tilt of his mouth, but then he shook his head and said, Do you think I will give you this chance to do that? What? Lei Xian's face instantly darkened, and he then noticed that a man was coming at tremendous speed from the direction of Cercis Island behind him. Soon, the man arrived in front of him. Your doppelganger. The man looked exactly like Jian Wushuang. He was certain that Jian Wushuang had cultivated the doppelganger secret skill, and that the man he had just fought against was too powerful to be his doppelganger. Oh, so you think you can keep me by joining forces with your doppelganger? Lei Xian said scornfully. It was a well-known fact of doppelganger secret skill that the doppelganger was much less powerful than the original body. Therefore, Lei Xian did not feel the slightest fear when he saw Jian Wushuang's doppelganger. Ha! You're not strong enough for my original body to join forces with my doppelganger, Jian Wushuang said with a frigid smile. With that, his slaughter body came to him quickly, and then his two original bodies became one again. The two original bodies were born because of the heavenly creation skill he had cultivated. The two original bodies were of equal strength, and their battle strength would not be greatly affected when they were united as one. The only difference was that Jian Wushuang fought against Lei Xian with the Emperor's sword just now. Meanwhile, Slaughter Body suppressed Su Ming with the Blood Mountain sword. At this moment, the Blood Mountain sword held by Jian Wushuang stretched to 12 meters long. The Blood Mountain sword was refined for me by my master at great cost. Its power is exceptionally mighty and has already transcended the eternal weapon. I've never really exercised its full power since I got it, and Su Ming was just suppressed by its own powers of suppression. Now let me see how capable this sword is. Jian Wushuang had a glimmer of expectation in his eyes. In the next moment, with an eccentric move, Jian Wushuang had passed through the void and appeared in front of Lei Xin. The Blood Mountain sword was scarlet like a boundless sea of blood. It gave a slight tremor and then thrust out directly. It was a simple, casual sword, and though Jian Wushuang had unleashed his power to the utmost, he did not display any secret skill. All in all, he wielded his sword in a simple and usual way. The light of the sword was piercing and swung towards Lei Xin. Lei Xin found that there was nothing extraordinary about the blow, so he resisted Jian Wushuang's sword calmly with his stone staff. Thus, the Blood Mountain sword, seemingly like a boundless blood sea, collided straight with the stone staff covered with purple thunderbolts. Crash! A low voice was heard, accompanied by a slight crack of the instrument. "WH what?" Lei Xin stared at the purple stone staff with his enlarged eyes. He saw that there was a slight crack in the place where the stone staff hit Jian Wushuang's sword. Although that crack was tiny, it still made Lei Xin feel inconceivable. At the same time, he felt the power from Jian Wushuang's sword several times stronger than before. That power had frightened him. Step 6. No sooner had he thought of it than the terrifying power came over his arm. Puff! Blood spurted from Lei Xion's mouth. He went deathly pale, staggered, and tried to retreat. But Jian Wushuang obviously did not intend to give him any chance to run away. After he seriously injured Lei Xin with his sword, he continued to gain momentum and took advantage of the situation to kill him. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. With an indifferent, emotionless look, Jian Wushuang urged the power of Blood Mountain sword to the greatest extent, and then waved it for 4 times in succession. Each of these 4 strikes was very common. They were only the simplest of cuts, without any delicate swordsmanship. Although retreating quickly, Lei Xin still wielded his stone staff to ward off the 4 blows. Clang, 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 clang. There were 4 crash sounds consecutively. Each time the horrifying power that the Blood Mountain sword contained would explode, which was tantamount to a hard hammer hammering Lei Xion's heart. After fending off 4 times, Lei Xin felt as if he was about to collapse completely. What made him even more frightened was that there were more and more cracks in his stone staff. After the 4th collision, crack! A crisp sound rang out. The eternal weapon in Lei Xion's hand was considered decent, but it was broken in pieces. How is it possible? It's an eternal weapon. How can it be broken? Lei Xin was dumbstruck, with his eyes wide open. Jian Wushuang didn't display any other secret skills, but simply changed a magic weapon. As a result, he totally outclassed him now, although he only occupied a small advantage in the past. With the previous strike, there were a total of 5 strikes. It was the simple 5 strikes that smashed his magic weapon and seriously wounded him. Run! A trace of fear rose in Lei Xion's heart, and he had lost all his battle intent. When life and death were at stake, he neglected his disciples' enmity. Now he only wanted to save his own life. He wanted to escape, but Jian Wushuang did not plan to let him off. Jian Wushuang again wielded his sword. This strike was a secret skill, Twilight. It was the fastest strike. As the sword was thrust out, a strange power immediately swept out from Jian Wushuang. It was the mind-controlling secret skill of the ancient god secret skill. In the past 37 years, Jian Wushuang's mastery of the 3 secret skills of the ancient god clan had greatly improved. Now, he fully exhibited the mind-controlling secret skill that was enough to contend with an expert at Step 3 of the Eternal Realm, but for an expert at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, it had little effect. Unfortunately, Lei Xin had been seriously wounded, and his will was on the verge of breaking down. More importantly was that Jian Wushuang had been too close to him.